the September 28, 2017 regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees of Lexington District 2. First item on the agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance, and I'll turn that over to Vice Chairman Bench.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight with us we have two students from Brooklyn Casey High School who are going to lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Kennedy Alexander Caldwell will lead us in the invocation. She's a senior at Brooklyn Casey, where she's enrolled in all AP and honors classes. She's a member of the National Honor Society, the Beta Club, and serves as Vice President of the Math Honor Society. She's a Burtis Walker Scholarship recipient and maintains a 4.5 GPA. Kennedy volunteers at local preschool where she reads to children of various ages. She is active in the youth group in her church, and Kennedy plans to attend Wofford College in the fall of 2018. She wants to major in political science and minor in journalism. And with us for the Pledge of Allegiance is Garrett Monroe Drew. Garrett is a senior at Brooklyn Casey, where he is enrolled in advanced and honors classes. He's played baseball for BC since his freshman year and has played football and basketball since his sophomore year. Garrett just completed the third round of tryouts for Team USA. He volunteers at a summer basketball camp for underprivileged children in his church. He volunteers with Limitless Sports at a camp for kids with special needs last summer. Garrett plans to play baseball in college in the fall of 2018 and wants to major in sports management and minor in business. So Kennedy, if you would, you and Garrett, if you would step up. Kennedy, you go first, and then followed by Garrett.
Let us pray. Lord, I thank you for the many blessings you've granted our district thus far. I ask that you continue to watch over us and provide support for our many staff and board members. I ask that you guide them in the decisions that affect the students and members of our community, and that you aid them in this responsibility that you so graciously placed upon them. I pray that your will be done, and that every decision made maintains a focus on you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is consent agenda, and if no objection, the agenda will stand approved as submitted. Next item is public participation period, and we have one person that has signed up, and if Miss Allison Ashley will come up. Allison, before you. How are you? You're going to be addressing agenda item G. I just want to let you know that you have a 5-minute time period, and we cannot interact with you during your presentation, okay? So the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Allison Ashley, and my daughter Caroline attends Toledo River Academy of the Arts by School Choice. I also attended Toledo River, but that was a long time ago. I am here tonight because I have a concern that there is no covered walkway posted for the renovation plans at Toledo River. If the plans go as proposed, this will make Toledo River the only elementary school in the district without a covered walkway. My concern is for the children. I know if my daughter Caroline is wet, she is uncomfortable. I do not believe a room full of uncomfortable children is a good learning environment. A covered walkway from the car drop-off line to the entrance of the school would solve this problem. When I think of basic needs of children, I think food, shelter, and clothing. Let's keep them dry on rainy days. When the plan to renovate the school became public, myself and other parents of Toledo River, we were so excited. I thought a covered walkway would surely be in the plans to create a better learning environment for the students. If Saluda River Academy of the Arts is going to be the only school without a covered walkway, I and other parents would like to know why. With that said, I appreciate your service. I know that the school could not run as well without what y'all do. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your consideration in this important issue.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the report on honors and accomplishments, student staff. And,
That's me
turn that
tonight,
over to
Ms.
Mr.
Williams.
Hinton.
Thank you, Ms. Madam Chair, members of the board. Tonight, we're going to recognize Brooklyn Casey High School's National Beta, their school beta club. Mr. Morton, is anybody here for that group?
No, they're not.
Okay.
It's just myself.
Then come on up here yourself. Brooklyn Casey High School has achieved 2017 National Beta School of Emeritus status. This prestigious honor is bestowed upon schools who offer national beta at all eligible grades on their campus and recognize academic excellence and commitment to celebrating the students' achievements. The National Beta Club emphasizes with all members achievement, character, leadership, and service. It's a real great organization. Mr. Morgan, congratulations.
Is that it, Mr. Hinton?
Yes, ma'am. There's some real interesting honors and accomplishments in the monthly thing, including our archery club at Mosby. So very good to see that taking off as much as it has.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. First item is consideration of contract price for Airport High School baseball press box and ADA issues, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Eisenhower.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have with us tonight Lynn Dillon from Contract Construction, who's going to be presenting to you some additional information. If you recall, last month, they had given us some price, and you approved a not to exceed. And by the way, the price that I have written into the construction update is incorrect. It was actually $574,321 was the not to exceed price that you gave us, or you approved last time. So you allowed with that Contract Construction and Lambert Architects to begin work and further develop the plans. And at this point in time, I think we have a concrete price to present to you. Bill?
Madam Chair, Dr. James, members of the board, thank you for seeing this tonight. As Don has said, we have a good price, concrete price, pun intended, on this. So I'm going to go quickly over what I gave you last time. I made a couple of changes to the handout from last month, and I'll go through those real quick. First off, we're familiar with the work we're doing, the area in which we're working. I work around the existing tennis courts in the press box area and over at the 5 parking places. Main focus is the press box, the moving of the bleachers, we'll be working with the paving. Next area is where we're going to put our 5 ADA parking spaces. Last area we're working in is where we're putting our fire truck access. Quick, just a review again. The existing, what we've got out there right now, 1,100 square feet concrete. What we're going back with, almost 4,000 square feet concrete. Moving the bleachers around, installing 2-story press box. First floor, not much has changed since last time. The only thing we've done is we've increased the size of the storage space, got rid of some unnecessary plumbing fixtures we didn't need in there. Cleaned that up, get a lot more work. Upstairs, cleaned that up as well. Added a panoramic type window view at the top where they can see more what's going on. Where we had some smaller windows and narrow spaces, now we've got it where you can see what's happening on top. Reworked some of the storm drainage. Before we had a drained field, about 70 feet of that on one side. We pared that back. We've actually got twice as many linear feet, but it's smaller. able to do the same job and save some money. This is the area where the 5 spaces are going, new accessible walkway from that space. We save some money here by going to asphalt instead of concrete that we originally had in here. This is your new fire access lane. We've got confirmation on what we need to put there for now. We're utilizing the existing sidewalk, which saves us a bunch of money, and putting a 10-foot wide extension on the side of that to carry the fire truck as it goes through. We've also added a fire hydrant right off the side of that, which is required by OSF and fire marshal. This is the view now from third baseline, panoramic view, the height. You get a good view of the home plate is from up there. Also, something we've done, Don has asked us to make sure we moved the press box back far enough to create some premium seating in front of the press box, but behind the fence. So if you have some supporters that want to sit where they can watch the game, not bothered, it's already paid. We get stuff. Last month, we gave you a not to exceed budget price of $574,321. The breakdown we gave you was what you see up there. I'm proud to tell you that this month we worked with ourselves, worked with the architect, worked with the staff, and carried it down significantly, as well as added scope to it, and still found money. But for $519,890, we can do what you've seen. It's a savings of a little over $54,000. I think we'll ask you to consider that. Thank you.
I do want to say before we get to this point, there's a little bit of an issue in what we are asked to do today with regard to fire lane access. The policy is that we're supposed to meet with the local fire marshal and basically get what we want to do approved and make sure that they're okay with it. What we have found is that when you bring the state fire marshal out to actually do the inspection, they override what the local fire marshal has said, and that has cost us some extra money at times. And I want you to explain to them that you do have a little bit of a contingency in this in case something does happen.
That number, the $519,890, carries with it a $25,000 contingency, so that we have some money in there or something like that. The hydrant is preliminary, and of course, with the local fire marshal, they said that it needed to go, working with Clay and Harvey Todd. That's what we assume it's supposed to be right now. It's a possibility it may need to move closer to the press box of the concession stand. And that will take some contingency if that needs to happen.
And is this a CM at risk price, a guaranteed maximum price, or is this a lump sum price?
This is a lump sum price. We're not doing this under
the difference here is that this is, if we go beyond scope, then basically we get change orders. So if we go beyond what's in the contingency, then we may have to come back at this point. Typically, I can approve up to $10,000 of change orders. I'm not sure exactly what your policy is here, but I just want you to understand that we could get into a scenario if the fire marshal comes out and requires us to put that 20-foot wide, 6-inch concrete road closer to that the press box. We may get to a point where hopefully we won't exceed that $25,000 contingency, but I just want you to understand that there's a little bit of a moving target here. With that, Madam Chair, we would ask that you approve the project as presented to contract construction.
Question, Mr. Now, will we be in total compliance ADA with the parking facilities and the facilities, restrooms and all?
According to the information that we have gotten from our architects, yes, and we've also done some work. We've talked to OSF some about this. It's a combination of bathrooms, but
OSF.
I'm going to plug Howard Google here because it's great to have somebody on staff that just worked for OSF. But we can actually use the restrooms that are in the ticket booth area, the canteen, right there inside the football stadium. Those are all ADA accessible. They're within the length required, so we can count those. So with those, we think we're more than adequate.
Ms. Graham?
I make a motion to approve the recommended proposed cost estimate of $519,890 for the airport press box.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is consideration of Brooklyn Casey High School arena schematics. Mr. Eisenhower?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, once again, we have with us Todd Cease with Carter Cease, who is going to present some additional schematics for the proposed arena that I think what you wanted us to do was come back with some different renderings from the Knox Abbott side of this project. And Mr. Cease has worked on that and has some interesting things to present to us.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dr. James, thanks for this opportunity to kind of give you an update on what we've been working on over the last month or so. And before we get to the arena, I just wanted to share a couple images with you. We have been flying the drone again, and just to kind of give you an update, see north side, middle school here, coming in Cougar Drive, see the progress of ES2. It's progressing nicely. The cafeteria and kitchen walls are all the way up, the electives wing, and then you can see the slab for the kindergarten wing is getting ready to be poured, and the footings have been poured for the remainder of the classroom wing. So exciting things going on for ES2. And then the Cake Center, if you've ridden down 12th Street Extension lately, you'll see that the concrete wall panels are starting to be installed. So this was taken just yesterday, but have a few panels up, and today they were able to install a few more. So this entire wing, which is the the traditional vocational technical education type shop areas, the big box spaces, will be basically up in just several weeks, and so things are going nicely. You can see the concrete floor slab's been poured here, and the masonry work will start shortly. And then ES1, they're finishing up some landscaping. The trees have been delivered, and they'll start going in and being installed as well. And then just another shot, you can see the proximity over to the Busby Creative Arts Academy. And the contractor is working closely with Don and Howard, and we were able to bring in some of the students from the Cake Center, or your vocational educational programs, out to the site to see the wall panels being installed. So exciting things going on for the students in the district. And then just to kind of update you on the progress at BC High School, the arena. Again, the overall site plan located here. You can see Knox Abbott Drive located up and down the right, State Street across the bottom of the drawing. The arena is located here. We have connectivity over to the campus, the existing gym and cafeteria. The stadium is located here. It's 42,000 square foot addition. You guys asked us to kind of look at the arrangement of the bleachers last time we were here, so we did that. Also the lobby space and how if it's open, and so we've addressed some of those issues, and then also what the building looks like from Knox Abbott Drive. So we've kind of reorganized the seating arrangement and created this sort of horseshoe. We have 10 rows of bleachers within the space. We've also kind of widened out the lobby space, so plenty of room when you're entering the gym and the playing arena, whether it's volleyball or basketball or whatever other activities will go on there. A lot of space, so a great number of people can move in and out of that area. Again, just to kind of refresh your memory, we have girls and boys visiting locker rooms, girls and boys home locker rooms, official locker rooms, a weight room area, and then AD space, large lobby, plenty of space to display all the trophies that you've won over the years, a large concession stand, the number of toilets required to meet code, And then a multi-use Hall of Fame type space could be used for educational purposes or, again, to display all of the the history of Brooklyn Casey High School. So we think wonderful space to be in. This is the revised rendering from Knox Out of Drive. It's just kind of a dust shot, but you'll see that it picks up some of the architectural character from the other side of the building, being able to display the BC Bearcat Paw. We're still using a lot of brick and stone and some glass, so a very transitional piece of architecture, but something that blends in nicely with the existing stadium. These pilasters or columns, that face the front of the building were made of the same material as the main wall of the stadium. We think it will blend nicely, but also it's a little bit different, but it says, hey, this is an innovative place. A lot of nice, exciting things that are taking place within these walls. We have translucent wall panels, again, to let natural light into the playing court and the gymnasium type area without direct sunlight. So it won't interfere with whatever basketball or volleyball or whatever physical activities are going on, but it lets that sort of blended natural light enter the space. And then just to kind of refresh your memory, this is the image from the school side as you walk across the connecting link into the main lobby space and the main entrance into the new arena. And again, we have 12 bleachers high. The seating capacity is a little over 1,500 seats. Really wide and ample space as you enter the gym from the lobby, and we'll have some glass there. Just have some visual connectivity out to the lobby area. And what's really right now, the ceiling height at BC's gym is 20 feet. The joist bearing here is 36 feet, so you have a lot more vertical height. Volleyball, hopefully you won't be hitting the rafters and the structures like you do now. So it's a large space, but a lot of ample room around the court. So you can see from the end line over to the bleachers, a little over 12 feet, so a lot of space you can circulate. Even behind the team benches, you'll be able to walk without, you don't have to walk in front, you walk behind, and there's plenty of room to get around. So the fans will be able to circulate without interfering with the game.
Is that the scoreboard in the center?
It is.
What's the distance from the scoreboard to the floor?
So we'll still be about 28 feet to the bottom of the scoreboard.
Volleyball, that's going to be an issue.
You think it will be?
I don't know. We'll see. Might be a home court advantage, who knows?
Play it off the volleyball. So we've done this before, and that's about the distance that we've had in other gyms, but I haven't heard that. They say we need to be above 24 feet, so we're 4 feet above whatever.
I coached against somebody else at the airport and
Yeah.
had that low, so we had the advantage.
It's always good to have home court advantage. Right. We can look into that and make sure everybody's comfortable with that. If this is a four-sided scoreboard, and we always will have shot clocks and other board information on the end walls too. So the players are always aware of how much time's left on the shot clock and throughout the game. And then just to kind of refresh your memory, this is the existing vocational building. It'll be totally renovated. I showed you the images of the Cake Center. We wanted to share that with you so that you know that in the summer of 18, the Cake Center will be finishing up, and then the renovation will begin on this building I-2 Tech 1, I-2 Tech 2 is located here. Those spaces have already been renovated. I-2 Tech 3 has already been renovated. These two shop areas will be converted to a fitness and wellness center. Cheerleaders and various different athletic teams will be able to use that space during inclement weather. And then I-2 Tech Phase 4 will be located here. We'll also add 2 additional science labs and additional toilet facilities. So Don mentioned Mr. Kugler calling me off on this thing. So,
That's later in the agenda.
okay, all right. So well, I'll get back with you. Any questions on BC? Arena.
Any questions?
I don't have a question about the arena, but I want to go back. You spoke about the Cougar Drive Elementary.
Yes, ma'am.
I've had a number of elementary teachers to tell me that there are things that could be changed with the Casey Elementary to make it more student-friendly. Dr. James, is there any way that we can get some feedback from those teachers so that maybe we can make some changes for this, particularly with early childhood?
Yes, ma'am. Matter of fact, I think Dr. McClary, any suggestions your folks have, Dr. McClary, they'll just give us some notes, and if we need to have our architect sit with them, they do it anonymous, just put it down, whatever their thoughts are while we're still in this stage.
But Dr. McClary, would you ask them for this, because they're not going to volunteer to come here if they don't want to complain about it, but they wish that there had been some changes in that?
But we won't know if we can do it better, we certainly won't know.
Thank you.
I can do a survey of any input they want to give.
Just any faculty meeting, just call them together and tell them that, we want to make sure that if there are changes or improvements that could have been made, we'd like to know what they are while we're.
I'll do that.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
This needs to take place real quick.
Well, since he's got professional development time tomorrow, I'm kind of hoping Dr. McClary's going to see his folks much right now.
But I don't think it's in the construction, I think it's in the amenities that are put in there. We all know that there are a few of them, we saw them, just pointed out to us, but I think there's a few others that they can point out to you to make them a little bit better for that age child. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, we'd like to ask that you approve the schematic as presented tonight.
Ms. Brown?
Motion to approve the schematics as presented for the arena.
Second.
The motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is consideration of school name, colors, and mascot for the new elementary school on Cougar Drive.
Yes, ma'am, we're going to have Mr. Simmons come up. He's already.
I was waiting. I've been waiting 30 years for this. Okay, there you go. All right, Madam Chair, Dr. James, members of the board, thank you for this opportunity. At the last meeting, we presented information where we had our community vote. We had over 1,500 responses. We shared that information with you. We were asked to go back as a committee and to poll each faculty, which we did. We have approximately 89 votes coming from the 2 schools. It was a clear between, first of all, between the name of the school, Brooklyn and Riverbank were the 2 names that we took for school names. 76% of the staff went with Riverbank Elementary, and 24% chose Brooklyn. So we're bringing that name tonight, Riverbank Elementary. For the mascots, I've learned a lot about this procedure and process. Found a lot of information about what people think and feel about them, but I'm going to share the data that we have, because data is always good. If you looked at the first results, which we gave you a copy of with the 1,500 responses, sea turtles was first. Not by a tremendous majority, but it was. The data that I present tonight, we have an exact split. 33.7% sea turtles, 33.7% rapids. But if you go back and you begin totaling each part, the sea turtles squeaked it out by just a small percentage. If you go back and look at who voted for Brooklyn Sea Turtles. So when you add up just mascots, it's still sea turtles. So, as a committee, we're bringing tonight that we be known as Riverbank Elementary, the Sea Turtles.
The colors, David, if you were.
Colors are teal and white.
That was approved.
Yes, sir. That went the first round. That really was never really one of our options. It was more about a school name and mascot. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the new school name as Riverbank and their mascot as the Sea Turtles.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second. Question, legal, are we legally?
I have met with representatives of the Riverbank Zoo. I have attempted on probably 12 different occasions to meet with the executive director. I've left my phone number, I've left voicemail messages. I have dictated a letter which hasn't been sent, which basically tells them we want to do this. I have yet to get a call back from him. The people who I have met with at the zoo, what I actually did is I've gotten in my car twice and driven to his office because I can't get a return telephone call. Neither time I've gone over there has he been there. He's been legitimately working, and I have no problem with that. But the people who I've spoken with, the community relations director and the facilities director, both indicated that they thought that was a wonderful idea, and that they would have him call me back, and they would tell me if there's a problem. Having heard nothing, I am assuming there is no problem. However, what I am hoping to get is actually a response to the formal letter that I've written, and maybe they'll respond to that. But I would say that I would highly recommend tonight, with all due respect to our friends at Riverbank Zoo, this is Riverbank, not Riverbanks. The name is going to be complimentary to the zoo, not derogatory. I do not believe that you can trademark or trade name, an actual name such as that. And there's enough significance, enough difference where even if they did object, I don't think they have standing to, but I don't think they will, because they said they would call me if they did, and they haven't called. So do I have a formal approval of yes, no? I've probably spent 6 hours chasing them down, trying to get them to respond. And all I've got is, we'll let you know there's a problem. That's where we are right now.
If we had to, could we make that river bank?
I think that's what you just recommended.
Words.
We could, but that's not the way we brought it. When we put it out to vote, it was one word, Riverbank.
Correct. I'm saying if we are not in compliance, not legally, if we can't legally do that, could we do the other?
My recommendation is this. The school's not constructed yet. There's not going to be a problem with the zoo. I would recommend approval of it tonight so we can get this over with. If there's an issue, you will come back and say, we can always change it before the school goes on. But one of the folks at the zoo who I have been able to meet with tell me, thanks so much.
Any other questions? Motion first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to new business.
Yes, ma'am.
First item is consideration of enhancing student safety on the bus. I'll turn it over to Superintendent.
Yes, ma'am. One of the things that we've looked at, Don and Tony and some of the principals and I, how can we be more effective with our buses? And one of the programs that we found is a program that actually tracks the bus in real time. Mr. Sargent can sit in his office and tell exactly where the bus is at any given point in time. The good thing about programs that are out there now is these programs, we can push out an app to the parents of the kids that are on the bus. So if William James is over at Springdale Elementary and I'm watching his bus in real time and it's running late because it's an extremely cold morning and the weather's bad, I'll send him out to stand out there. I can pretty much judge within just a matter of minutes of when the bus is going to be there, or if the bus is running late. And most of us know, beginning part of the year, school districts nationwide are notorious for the buses being late leaving schools and late getting home in the beginning of the year to the routes work out. That's the first piece we're looking at, but we'd like to, as time goes by, go further, and what we can actually do is monitor the kids on the bus. The law requires that we have a seating chart and that we have a list of the kids that are on the bus in the event there were ever an accident. What long range, what we would like to do is not only just be able to track the buses in real time from Mr. Sergeant's office or the district office or even parents with an app, but through the use of the iPads that our kids have, for us to have, in essence, what is the role of who's on the bus. If I look on there and William James's iPad is blinking that it's there, then odds are William James is on that bus. So it's a long and complicated process, and we're just looking at the very beginning and a try. But what we would like, and we don't need a vote as such tonight, what we'd like is just the board to realize that we want to put out an RFP. We are not in any shape, form, or fashion obligated to take that. But once we put out that RFP for a program that will do the kinds of things we're talking about, we'd like to bring folks in to talk to the board, explain how that would work in more details, and then quite possibly, if it's within our means, to go ahead and begin implementing that program. So we think it's a good use of the technology that we have in place. This district, this board has also going to bring you probably another month a report from the State Department of Education. This board to be commended because it's one of the highest ranking districts in the state of South Carolina on technology support by the board. That'll come out. But what we'd like to do is try to find ways that are applicable and are helpful to folks, and all these things, having kids stand out in the dark when the bus is 30 minutes late and nobody being able to know that, it is needless when we've got technology to make it different. So I'll try my best to answer any questions. I'm not sure much Sergeant's here. Don is, we've been talking about it again, but again, I don't need a vote. I just, if anybody's got any real objections to us going in that direction, we need to know before I stick out an RFP. Mr. Bingham.
I just want to say I think this technology is fantastic. Most of you, or some of you, know my story that my son was in a terrific automobile accident while driving to college a few years ago. And through technology like this, I actually knew where he was, and I got to him just as the airlift helicopter was taking him away to the hospital. But I wasn't notified by phone by the highway patrol in the hospital until hours after I was already in the hospital and seeing him for them to tell me that my child had been in an accident. So I can't be any higher of a supporter of this kind of information to give to parents so that they know where their children may be.
no-brainer.
We're going to issue an RFP. Tony, Sheely, and our bus folks and Don, a lot of folks have kind of put their head together about the things that we might can do with this kind of technology. Once we get the RFP back, what we'd like to do is bring somebody to you all. And if it's affordable, we'll ask for a vote at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item is consideration of quitclaim deed with State Street Baptist Church.
Yes, ma'am. I've got some information in your packet. Somewhere in early 2015, the district had an agreement with State Street Baptist Church about the possibility of sharing some property and closing of the street. We're to the point that the church has asked that the county allow them to close a portion of K Avenue that runs from the intersection of 6th Street and K Avenue to State Street and K Avenue. In order for that to happen, legally what we'd have to have is our board chair issue a quitclaim deed. And again, this is a follow-up of an agreement that the board's had in place for about 2 years now. The good thing about it, as I understand and go back over this, is the fact that it gives us a lot of parking that we can use at times at church as it's going on. So Sunday morning and Sunday night, it adds a lot of parking to Brooklyn Casey High School. And our recommendation would be that we just follow up and that we can execute with a claim deed.
Okay. Any questions? We're good? All right. We will do that. Next, we'll move on to consideration of approval for ACT 155 request for granting of a high school diploma.
Yes, ma'am. This week, board members, you have in your packet a high school diploma request based on that 155, and I'll just ask for your approval for that tonight.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the request for the high school diploma.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And if I could go back real quick to the quitclaim deed, if I can get a motion that we execute the deed.
Madam Chair, make a motion that we do the quitclaim deed with State Street Baptist Church.
Have a motion, then a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I abstain.
Okay. That's 6 with Bill abstaining on that one down there, okay? On that last motion. Recusing, okay. All right, next we will move on to consideration of digital marquee bids for schools.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, friends, family. Good to be back in front of you to talk about digital signs and to update you tonight, but also to ask for some approval as well. Rob, if you can go to the order, the timeline of it. We met, the digital sign committee met again last week or the week before that to finalize some things to sort of wrap up where we are. And part of that was including the order of signs. Part of this is dictated by the projects that are going on and the order that they're going on, because we feel like that needs to coincide with one another. So you'll see the list for fall 2017, summer fall 2018, and then finally summer fall 2019.
And these are in your, this list is in your packet. It's a few pages back.
So moving from those first 7 that we're going to ask for your consideration of tonight for the fall of 2017, the school year, you'll see those 7. So when we met as a district committee, we began talking about fonts. We started talking about whether they should be uppercase, lowercase, colors, all of those kind of things. So at your packet tonight, at your seat, I've given you a packet tonight that has a layout for all 7 of those schools. I want to point out to you that on the front side, like Brooklyn Casey is up here on the overhead for you, you'll see that this sort of gives you a sample of what the full digital capability of the signs are. On the flip side, you will see that it is just the lettering. The reason that I have presented that to you tonight is because we're going to ask for your help as we move through getting variances in different municipalities. Because in Casey, for example, they do not allow the full digital displays. What they ask for is that. And so I wanted to show you the first page on the front is what they sent us to begin with, to look at the colors, lettering, those kind of things. I asked them to then go back and put statements on the back. Those are the ones that we would be using when we go before the municipalities to ask for variances. Also want to point out, as far as that goes, that Mr. Eisenhower has asked the sign company to be responsible for that, with input and, of course, representation from the district. Hopefully schools will be involved and all of that. So you'll see with the fonts, we decided to go all capital letters. Then what happened is when I received these samples, I sent them out to the principals after the committee. I gave them 3 choices. The committee gave them 3 choices for the monument part at the bottom. You'll see the majority of us chose the gray, the warm gray that's on the bottom. One school, Congaree Elementary, chose black. So all of the principals of these schools have been involved, and these are their preferences. But what we wanted to do as a committee was to present these to you tonight for you to tell us on each one of them, yes, that is good, you like colors, and so we can move forward. And I think you have maybe some other information.
Yeah, I will also say that on that timeline, we made a note at the bottom, that this is all pending approval from you and also approval from each local municipality. Now, if you go back to that timeline, if you look at the page right in front of that, you will see the actual bids that came in from the companies. And what we had asked you to do was to approve, previously in our CPIF budget, we asked you to approve of 4 of these at $25,000 per. Now, we're going to continue with that target of $25,000 per sign, and we're going to continue to try to use CPIF funds as we can to do these. Now, in order to make this happen, I've got to have one more sign because most of these are considered in the construction of those projects that are underway right now. We will need, I'll need to do 5 signs instead of 4. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not, unless you go objecting to that, we're going to proceed with that, unless you feel you need to vote on that. But what you will see and highlighted in green if you go to the bid tab is you will see that they are, the way this was bid was it was a minimum of 10 signs that we would do. 10 to 14 signs. And what you see on the next sheet is 16 signs. We may or may not be able to do one in some of these residential areas. We've asked for dimming capabilities automatically at night. We've asked for everything that we think the municipalities would ask for us to present to them in order for this to occur. But I just want you to know that we may run into some obstacles, but we're hoping that they will agree that they want every school to have the same thing. And that's the premise from which we've operated through all of this. So what we're asking you to do basically is to give us approval to award the contract to the AAA sign company out of Augusta, Georgia. It's an Actronics sign, which is a very good sign. We had originally, when the committee met, we talked about a 20 millimeter sign. We actually got a 16 millimeter sign, which is very, very good, clear guess, displays. And we'd like to keep that cushion in there up to the $25,000 because we have to get electricity to these signs. The distances could be an issue, but the sign company is willing to come out and look at each of these sites individually and let us know what we got to do. So that'll be just a little bit of a contingency that we will have in there to make sure that we can make these signs work. Most of the signs that are on this list for the first year are in Casey. We also have South Congaree and Pine Ridge. And none are in West Columbia, but we've already started talking to West Columbia as well. So we're hoping to get approval for all of these signs in the very near future from the municipalities. But tonight we just ask that you give us approval to proceed with AAA and with the timeline that we presented to you.
And I might add that after we met, I did send all the municipalities an update on where we were.
Ms. Brown?
I make a motion to allow the district to proceed with the signs as presented by the committee.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Mr. Brown?
Mr. Eisenhower, I would suggest that you do try to make sure that they put some sort of surge suppression on these things. I've had experience where lightning, they typically are off away, and lightning sometimes it runs through the ground and it goes up, and these things are so expensive, it burns out the electronics in a heartbeat, and you're stuck with the signs that work, and you have to spend a lot of money to repair them. So make sure they include some sort of transient surge suppression, transient voltage surge suppression.
Bill McPherson is actually going to handle the installation, supervision of the installation. Bill, are you in here?
Hi.
And so he's an elected
Yeah,
engineer.
they actually make lightning arresters you can hook on there, so we will have that capability.
Madam Chairman, and if I can amend to the second part of my motion or add to my motion to award the contract as recommended by administration to AAA.
Have a motion and it's been amended. I'll make a second. Second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. All right. Next is discussion of possible changes to cell phone policy, and I'll turn that over to Dr. James.
Yes, ma'am. We have been asked about our cell phone policy and what some of our neighboring districts are doing. I sent the board a copy of Lexington One's discipline policy, and here you have a copy of ours. Actually, if you look at ours, unauthorized display use, turning on and off unsanctioned electronic device during regular school hours. The first time the action for that calls for detention, but the administrator has the option of nothing more than talking to the student. Second time, you have underneath ISS, you have the option where the administrator could go back to just detention or talking to them. Third time, with recommendation of the policy, is a day out of school suspension, but the administrator has the authority to reduce that to in-school suspension. So actually, in our discipline code, a student could have their phone out during class, regular school hours, using it unauthorized and up to 4 times, according to whoever the administrator is, before you actually got sanctioned with any credibility. The other piece of that, which may make a lot of this a moot point, Jim got a letter today from this State Department of Education from one Davis' office, setting minimum standards for student conduct and disciplinary enforcement. So within the coming months, we're going to get a list of what the State Department says is the minimum sanction for different infractions. So we'll be updating you, I'm sure on a very regular basis about this, but between Jim and I, we'll try to answer any questions that the board might have regarding cell phones, and then do please keep in mind that Wanda is going to continue to send us information from the Supreme Court's office about discipline and what the state required infraction or consequence for the infraction would be. So, some information.
Madam Chair, I was the one that asked them to look into this just to see kind of where we stood with our neighbors. And I would ask that we try to make some realistic, real-life policies. I think, when this was originally written, it's been a while. It's just not real life when we've got kids that have tablets and iPads and everything in there that can do just about everything the cell phone can do. And we're actually giving that to them. That the only way that we're addressing this is in our discipline code. And right now, they can't even have it on in the school bus. That's just not realistic, I don't think. I'm certainly not a fan of them having in classrooms and that kind of thing, but I do think we need to be realistic about this. I have kids with phones and this kind of technology that Bill's talking about. You want to be able to get in touch in an emergency situation. I think at the middle and especially at the high school levels of giving these kids some responsibility, some accountability, but having, the repercussions there if they do abuse it. I looked up Lexington one just because obviously, they're our next door neighbor, and they just revised theirs last year, and I don't agree with everything on there, but I think it gives some pretty good parameters about it. They are allowed to use it before school, after school, on the bus. Theirs allows it between classes. I'm not a fan of that. I think that would cause a lot of distractions, but before school, after school, at lunch, certainly on the bus, I think is just a very realistic, real-life thing that we need to look at rather than just addressing it in our discipline code. And I appreciate y'all considering.
And to Dr. Brooks' credit, Mr. Giles, that's one of the things that Dixon implemented, because the school administrator does have a lot of flexibility in dealing with that, because other than being able to call, and of course if you count FaceTime, a phone call, they can do that with the technology that we give them. But what Dixon was able to do is use lunchtime and certain times in certain areas of the school. And so it eliminated the problems that go along with cell phone, because for every good thing that goes along with it, and most of us with children do that, find my friends and track our children, but the other side of it is oftentimes you have phone dialed and it's just an inappropriate time, and when phones with pictures and camera capability, PE teachers all over the world have heart attacks. So I think it's one of those things where if you're going to implement something like that, the model that Dixon uses is certainly one that you can use to at least begin the discussion.
Sure, and I agree with that, but I think the way it is now, we have teachers and particularly administrators that I think would like to do some of that, but don't feel they can based on the policy that we have. And obviously I want primarily the principal to have discretion, period, for their school. But even the teacher level, if the teacher says, hey, you're not going to have in my classroom, the teachers should have that discretion too. But right now, I think you would probably have some teachers that might allow that in certain circumstances that don't feel that they can because of the way the policy is written. So,
well, we'll be getting some more information. I think you're right. In fact, the principals need some discretion. Teacher to teacher tends to confuse kids. If a kid in my class is able to use their phone or to do whatever, and that's a procedure, and then they go next door and Kate sends them to the office for it, that
you wouldn't do that, but you can.
By policy, I certainly would.
But anyway, we'll continue to look at it, keep you posted.
Thank you.
Ms. Brown?
I was just gonna say, why don't we just leave it open for discussion, you've got things to bring to us anyway, so we're gonna have to make wholesale changes, maybe we can discuss that along with whatever else changes are recommended by the state department.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I agree with Mr. Giles, so as those changes come in, if y'all will kind of look at it, rewrite it, bring it to us, we appreciate it. Okay.
But to say one other thing, teachers would like, there are a lot of teachers that would like to do away with the cell phone. So we need to consider teachers as well.
All right. Next, we have certification of delegates for the South Carolina School Board Association 2017 Delegate Assembly and this meeting. The Delegate Assembly is December 2nd in Charleston, South Carolina, and we have 3 votes. Lexington 2 has 3 votes that can be divided. It can be all 1, it can be 3, it can be 2. Do we know for sure you're going?
I'd like to nominate Cindy Kessler, she does a good job every year as one of them. If
Okay.
anybody else wants to go on, fine, but if not, I'd be fine for have all 3 votes. I think she's done that a couple of years in a row, so if else wants to go, that's fine, but I'd nominate Cindy, she's doing a good job with that.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second for Ms. Kessler to control all 3 of our votes.
Only if Ms. Kessler goes along with Brian, Ms. Daisy.
Okay, the 2 Kesslers drive each other to Charleston. So, have a motion, do we have a second? Mr. Bennett?
I would second that. I would actually ask that we amend that motion, that we allow the other Ms. Kessler to be the alternate for
That's a
Ms.
great
Kessler.
idea.
If she's going to be there anyway, in case something were to happen, we need an alternate.
Okay, all right. We have a motion and we have an amendment to that motion. Do I, and Mr. Benham has seconded that.
I'll second that amendment.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next, we have consideration of guaranteed maximum price for Saluda River Academy for the Arts.
Madam Chair, we have with us Jenny Kirk, and I was going to do any kind of introduction. You got it all covered, Jenny?
I think I have it.
Thank you.
All right.
Come on. Madam Chair, Dr. James, members of the board, thank you for having me back here. I missed y'all last month. I was thankfully on vacation, but I'm here.
We missed you.
So I'm here really excited that we have buttoned up the final guaranteed maximum price for Saluda River Academy. I have a team of 6, and not including myself, who have worked really hard to put this price together. We have made countless site visits to just make sure we have everything covered. What I've given you is an account of what the guaranteed maximum price is. I'm presenting to you tonight is $12,297,210. This guaranteed maximum price includes the previously approved demolition, early site package, and foundations, which is $2,264,944. We also reduced the unsuitable soils allowance to $25,000. We've been out there, and the site contractor and our superintendent feel confident that we don't need much more than $25,000, so we went ahead and reduced that allowance at this time. We have an additional allowance for unforeseen conditions, and anything above the ceiling that we might run into is required by OSF, and that's of $100,000. And then on top of that, we have the typical 5% construction contingency, which totals to $542,097. So we think we have it all covered. We have been very conservative. As you see, we have allowances to cover any errors and omissions or unforeseen conditions. I think it's healthy, and we are out there working, and we're ready to proceed with the balance of the work.
I might also add that we asked Thompson Turner we had some asbestos abatement that had to take place on this site. And I think that was a total of $48,800. We'd like to pay Thompson Turner directly for this, and so we won't have any architect fee markup in this. And I think Jumper Carter Seats is fine with us doing that. So in order to expedite this project and get this thing started, we asked Thompson Turner to do it for us, and that helped save us probably close to a month.
Madam Chair, you make a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price of $12,297,210.
I'll second it, okay?
Okay, I do too.
Brought before us tonight was covered for the walkways. I think we need to really consider that. Maybe, I don't know whether we can do that openly now.
I'm looking, and there actually is a covered one for the cars. We had talked about one from the buses, but I don't see one on here. Mr. Cease, do we have a canopy coming from the buses? Do you remember?
At one time, we had one, Don, and we certainly could add it back through some of the contingencies and allowances that we have built in.
I think we need to.
Yeah, let's do that. There was some parents' concerns, I think maybe before y'all got here tonight, so let's.
And Mr. Maine, would you also include in that that we could pay them the $48,800 for the asbestos abatement?
That's in addition to
Yes.
Previous, amended.
Okay, so we need a second motion for that, right?
Probably so. We can take it out of contingency, but the experience that we've had with this is that we need that contingency money on a remodel like
All
this.
right, let's vote for this one.
I have a motion on the floor and a second. We've had discussion, and we're good on that. All in favor, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the $48,000 for the asbestos abatement to Thompson Turner.
Second. I have a second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
On your first motion, should we not do we include the crosswalk, the covered walk deal?
We'll include that. I don't think we'll
Okay.
And I think we need to point out that this drawing does have a covered wall over the parent drop-off.
That's right.
The only one that is not shown on here is the bus, which is out of the street.
But
That's
you-
correct.
y'all can
The
make that
drop-off
work.
does have a drop-off, correct, covered drop-off.
All right.
We'll look at that this week, and I'll update you when I come back to different.
Good. Good deal. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we also have with us tonight Jumper Carter Seats and Thompson Turner and Kirk to present to you on paper what we think would be the scope of work for Brooklyn Casey High School and just a guesstimate at what we think it will cost. And I think you will see that we're hoping that we have good bid days on these and we won't have to cut anything out. And Jimmy will cover that with you, but right now we're going to be a little bit over budget.
All right, so Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, just to basically kind of review the costs that Jenny and her team have put together for Brooklyn Casey High School. Again, the arena is shown. We talked about that earlier. We've have included extensive renovation in the science and technology wing, the old vocational building. We have some renovations in the north wing, and then some renovations in the existing PE facility. The cost of the track is shown on the drawings, and then kind of below the line, we've established a list of projects that, if funding is available, that we would suggest, and that has to do with the administrative wing, the south wing, and creating some seminar and testing type spaces, as well as reworking the secure entrance. And then I failed to mention that the auditorium is also included, and I can share a couple drawings with you on that as well. So this is, again, the Science and Technology Wing includes 2 new science labs, required toilet facilities for that facility, enclosing that walkway and making it a conditioned area, and of course finishing out the I2 Tech Phase 4, as well as the Fitness and Wellness Center. The auditorium will include totally redoing the house, new seating, reworking the stage, adding connectivity to all of the back of house, back of stage type spaces with a scene shop, dressing rooms, a large storage facility for the school's piano, connectivity to over to the east wing hallway and the north wing hallway, and then enclosing that entry lobby so that when you walk in the exterior doors, you actually are entering into a lobby, not into the house itself. So those are the items that are included in the budget. Jenny can go over that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Todd. So the intention of handing this budget out to you tonight is not to say that this is written in stone, but we have met as a team, we being Don and his team and Todd and his team, several times to talk about what is the scope of BC High School and what are we going to prioritize. So the intention of giving you this budget tonight is to ask and solicit your opinion, your input into the prioritization of scope. So as you can see, we have been told that the budget for Brooklyn Casey High School, according to the bond referendum budget, was $21,202,000. So the first thing that I've done is deduct. I've been told that to deduct the purchase of the Motel 6 property as well as the previously spent monies on the roof, the mechanical work, and the I2 Tech work that we did as a company in 2016, which leaves us as a balance of $17,400. Now, the athletic work you've already approved. We haven't spent it yet, but it's in other words committed, and that's the $1.2 million that we're currently working on right now. The rest of this work, we're calling this a target cost model, and this is what we understand to be the priorities. But again, we're soliciting your opinion as to what the priorities should be for the scope. And I can see we already have some questions, so I'm going to start talking and let you ask before I continue.
So the purchase price of the motel comes off out of, I thought that came out of CPI.
It did. It was out of.
But it comes off of the 21?
Well, the money that we used for I2 Tech, the roofing and all that also came out of CPI, but it's money that was spent, that will be spent on Brooklyn Casey. We're just showing all the money that's being spent on every school. Whether or not you want to count it, that's up to you, but we've already committed $14 million over and above what the $225 million is that you voted in to do the various projects that we're doing.
The 1.8 and the 2 are both out of CPIF money. As a matter of fact, the Motel 6 property, the motion was that we bought from fund balance of the CPIF money, and then the I2 Tech renovations, that $2 million came out of CPIF before any allotment. So what you have is none of that is bond money. That's a running total of what's been spent there, but it's two different.
Okay.
Everything below that balance to spend is bond money. Everything above that has been CPIF fund balance. Ms. Kessler made that clear in her motion that not be bond money, that it be CPIF fund balance.
But I'd like to ask, because I feel like a while back when we talked about how much bond referendum money was allocated to the different schools, that 21 was the amount of bond referendum money allocated to schools. I mean, that's why we ended up, that's why the other things went the way they did, because we specifically, because I don't think, if we allocated 21 to begin with out of bond referendum money for BC, then you have to use 21 million in bond referendum money for BC. If you used other money out of CPIF, it can't be for purchase of property, because we also got a deal with, our municipality with that and everything. That was clearly a board motion that that we weren't using bond referendum money. And I know that at least 20 or 21 was allocated for PC.
I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to tell y'all how to spend it.
Right.
I'm just showing you what's been spent. And you know, I'm telling you that part of how we save $14 million to put toward other projects, and part will go toward this one, because we will go over budget. So, the only way we could do that was to basically use CPIF funds as those were available to offset some of the costs. And we talked about that all up front, that we were trying to give you as much as we could give you for the money that you had voted, that this community had voted in. And we've held true to that, in that we've given you, we told you we thought we could give you between $10–15 million extra, and we've committed 14 of that. Now, there could potentially be other monies, but I'm not willing to step out on that limb and tell you that there's going to be other monies. I think as we progress through this, we will know more. But what we're trying to do tonight is we're trying to get from you feedback on what are your priorities. And we kind of listed them in a priority order, in our opinion. So if you disagree with that, then you need to tell us. I mean, we'll put in this if money is allowed, if there's money there. I'm not trying to tell you that. I'm just showing you what's been spent, what we're estimating it will cost to do this work.
Ms. Brand. My second thing, Mr. Cease, if you could go back to the big picture, so to speak. Yeah. The red things you have in the middle of the track, is that where you're planning to put like bleachers or something? Because, and I think I brought this up before. We've talked about this track, I know, probably ad nauseum, but I spent a lot of time sitting around the track the last couple of years, and I know that Ms. Kessler's both have spent a lot of time dealing with track and field events, and some of these others may have even been to some. There's, first of all, the whole point of redoing an entirely new track at BC was so that you could run track meets there, and I think we've discussed this, and Ms. Kessler and I both, I think we're on the same page here, that first of all, in order to squeeze that thing in there like that, you have to make it so narrow up around those curves that you're really, Ms. Kessler, I think last time they said it had 8 lanes, it was really 6, I don't know. And no matter how many lanes you need, no school is going to want to come and run on that track because of 2 reasons. The primary reason, not only being that it's so tight around those corners, but there's nowhere whatsoever for any flow of parents, fans, anybody to even see this thing. Because, you know, then somebody told me, I don't remember who it was, why don't you just put as many bleachers in the middle of the track as you want to? Well, you can't do that, because when you're running like the 100 and the 200, people have to be able to see clear across the track. I mean, they yell at kids to sit down every time they get ready to run those 100 and 200s, because you have to have a clear infield for that to happen. And so, and now you're busting right up on the edge of that softball field. And my deal is kind of like, the track as it is right there, drawn right there, is very low to me. I think there might be some other solutions on down the road, but shoehorning it in on this campus like that is problematic to me. So I just feel like I have to say that as far as, I mean, you have like number 6, I'd rather have a dance room or floor mirrors or locker room or whatever you're saying on there. So that's my
question about that. And discussion, I really want to answer this. So obviously the track maintenance is not regulation, correct?
Yeah.
Hasn't been for a while. So
You can still run a lead on that track, but your start points are much different. You start to 220 on the left-hand side about over a third, no, right down, bring it down, right there. That's where you start to 220. And you have to start your mileage, you start everything at a different location. And it's very confusing to kids. It's very confusing to coaches, yes.
So
nobody wants to run on it. But
so my point is, we're not hosting these now.
they're used to traveling. They're used to traveling. And by the way, I definitely wouldn't go back to saying use anything like a district stadium or anything, but airport, I think, gonna be fine on regulation and can host meets. And I'm sure in between the two schools, as many kids as we have running track, and I believe me, I'm for track kids' rights, because I was a track mom. But my kids would not have minded if airport wants to host a meet, that we would just go to their meet that's right down the road, and then we're not spending $1.5 million and ruining a campus area. Because if you do that, you're messing up the people trying to watch softball because they like to stand all the way around that backside fence. I mean, you're just messing up a lot of things right there. You're messing up that parking lot where people like to drive in and out. That's problematic. And they'll still not use it. If you build it, they will still not come because it's going to be too narrow at the top, that nobody's going to want to put their athletes running around that track.
All you have is a practicing.
And they can practice on what's there now.
What's there now, except with
They're
the new
fine.
surface. With the new surface.
Mr. Banger.
Yeah, I think the confusion about the land purchase is coming from our monthly report with regard to the expenditures on the bond referendum projects. And as of even this month, we're showing that BC's total hard costs, which would be construction, is $21,202,500. And as of this month, there's still $21,820,000 that has not been spent in that project. So, and bond or land purchases are listed as a separate line item, not included in the total for the school. So I think that's why the confusion is occurring to say you're cutting off 21.2 for the cost of the land purchases that have been made, and they're under a separate line item within the project budget. So I don't think it would be appropriate to include the purchase cost off the 21 million. That's the 1,000,008. That gives you your delta. You're back to positive. It's not an issue. It's for me.
Yes, and if that were the case, it would be our hope that the further that the design gets refined and we are able to get the job out, we would be able to add in some scope, say, for the north wing and south wing, if that were the case, yes.
That looks like a new problem solved.
And the track issues, anybody want to go into it?
Well, I'm gonna go with, I'm fine with holding a little bit on the track. Maybe if you're asking my opinion.
Put one there, it's been said all along, this is kind of nice to see 7 people finally agree that it's not practical to put a track at Brooklyn Casey, unfortunately. It's just the bottom line.
Here would be my question is, do we still need a track at all? Do we need a practice
You
track?
need a practice track, yeah.
So we just resurface the existing form
I would think
without expanding?
want to cost of.
But I think it needs to be fully explained to the BC people, the theory behind this and the reasoning from it. It's got to be proven, and that's being proven.
So we can get pricing on just
Can we
doing
get
the
pricing on the
resurface on the
resurface?
existing?
Yes, we absolutely can.
All right.
Do you have an opinion of what you would prefer to prioritize? Because if those costs were removed, then you would be able to add additional scope either to the north wing or the south wing.
Possibly both.
Well, yeah.
Why don't we do some more work on that?
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. No, that's perfect.
Okay.
I guess, do you agree with it?
Yes, I do.
Actually,
Yes, sir.
Classroom education should come first.
And then, and move those up and try to get, I mean, anytime we can do something with the north wing and the south wing, you know, with the classrooms, I totally agree with that. And
Or
then the way
allow the
you,
school administration to
Yeah.
give us input on their preferences. on
yeah,
which
just
they
kind of
prefer.
talk to them.
Education over sports. You get real heavy on sports, and I'm a sports person.
So can I confirm I'm to remove the 1.8 from my budget in order to advise the owner and Don and Todd what they can afford?
That's what's listed on our budget sheet that Kelly gives us every month.
Right, the 1.8 does not come off of the referendum. The other things that Don's talking about that we're doing through CPI are shown in that savings column, and that savings column does not include the purchase of that land, because that was a totally separate motion that was to come out of.
And that's what I'm saying, is we're still showing an allocated budget of $21,202,000 for Brooklyn Casey.
And I think there
That
was-
has nothing to do with the purchase of land.
Right, that
They
piece
may
of land.
include the roof and mechanical work that we've done, but it has nothing to do with the land because down on the fourth from the bottom, you've got land purchases as a separate line item.
Right, and it's not even in that land purchase. That's the land purchase through the referendum. That 1.8 for the motel is not in the referendum at all because that was a board motion to come out of CPIF fund balance. So that came directly out of CPIF fund balance, which is the balance of the transfers that we do at the end of each year. So,
Regardless of that, it would not be included in the
Right.
$21,202,500 that is included for the total hard cost for Brooklyn Casey High School.
right, that land purchase is not.
Okay, so y'all are gonna get us a price on the research, and you're gonna kind of redo this.
Well, we're just, the
project.
whole purpose is look for study.
Okay,
And obviously, this feedback has given us, I think, what we need
okay,
to proceed. We're going to start planning on the vocational wing and doing all these different things. And I guess what we're hearing is that we're not going to design a track to go at Brooklyn Casey High School.
and resurface what we
We're
have.
going to research.
Right now.
Yeah.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
I want to get back to the question Ms. Kessler had.
Okay.
Academics and school building itself needs to be as far as my part's concerned, our priority. Are you putting the scope pending additional funding for the north and south wing renovations? In light of the information we received today and the issues that we may have at that school, it seems like the building should take preference over some of the things that we're doing for athletics.
Well, the summer and the arena, those we've already agreed to go ahead and go on. Those are going, have pretty
Well,
much
what he said
started.
with the 1.8 that we're taking out,
Right.
and 1.2 of the track, which is going to come way down to a resurface that we likely can do.
We can put those all back
I just
in.
want to hear said that we're going to take care of the structure of the academic part of portions of Brooklyn Casey High School.
Like the mold issue today.
Which was taken care of this afternoon.
But there's more.
Yeah. I believe that's what we're saying, that they're gonna bring it back to us and we're gonna look
Yeah,
at
I
it.
mean, we've re-roofed the whole school now with the exception of what we're going to be doing in this scope of work. So we realize that there were leaks throughout this district, but we've tried to address most of those at this point, and we've still got a few more to do this summer. But, and the last phase of the roofing will be covered in this scope of work right here at Brooklyn Casey.
And let me add, Ty and I were just discussing, the intent is also to try to package as much of this work as we can together into one set of drawings so that we can bid it together rather than bidding in these individual little projects. You're going to get a lot better value, and this could be more efficient if we can package as much as we can into one set of drawings. And so that's why we want to try to figure out exactly what needs to be in this first set that we're hoping to start in the early spring.
Well, to follow up with Mrs. Kessler's, could we, when you bring us back the next situation, are you gonna actually show us what these renovations are in these areas, the north wing and the south wing, so rather than just,
Yes.
I mean, is it paint, is it, you know?
Right.
Thanks.
We will.
Yeah, but we have you totally confused or?
I'm good. I was clear as mud before. I'm clear.
All right.
And it's my intention to, Todd is going to deliver an early site package and foundation package for the arena to us in the next week or so. And so we will bring, and then it'll be simultaneously submitted to DHEC for approval for land disturbance. So we will come back to your November board meeting for the approval of that early site package. And at the same time, we will hopefully have a good solid design development budget because he's submitting us a design development package drawings for the arena as well. So when we come back, we'll bring an updated iteration of this, reflecting the changes that we discussed tonight.
One further question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sees, could you tell us how many seats are going to be in the auditorium? 1,500. In the auditorium?
In the auditorium, it'll be around 500, so slightly less than what you currently have, but you know how tight it is right now. So we're We're widening the rows. The seats will be anywhere from 19 to 21 inches wide, and it'll be around 500 marks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to take the next two items. We'd like to hold those off until October board meeting. And I apologize when I created this. We were anticipating the possibility of having a grandchild that weekend. I kind of got ahead of myself.
Well, we can certainly understand that.
I was about 2 weeks before, but if you go back to the minute, or to the instruction update, you will see that my intention was to bring those items to you in October. So with that said, can we move to the weight room? All right. What we would like to do is as you know, Airport High School, we just finished, we're in the process of finishing up the interior renovations there, which includes an enlarged weight room. We obviously would like to have some furniture and equipment money to go into that weight room. Brooklyn Casey High School is going to be getting a new weight room as well with the arena. We've talked to principals and athletic directors. We would like to allot $60,000 per school for weight room equipment to go into these two weight rooms. We'd like to ask that you approve of a budget of $60,000 for each. And I think protocol will allow us to go ahead, once the bids come in, go ahead and go with the delivery and installation to avoid waiting any longer for them to use that equipment with your vote tonight.
And it'll be an allotment. The coach will determine what weight equipment they use, how many free weights, and what they get. Basically, what we're asking for is a vote to give them $60,000 and allow us to, once they get their list together, as long as it's $60,000 or under, to go ahead and order and get the weight room set up.
I understand the necessity to do that, and there's no question that both weight rooms need to be equipped. However, recently using it with females, we have to modify and adjust practically everything because no weights are purchased for females or lighter children. I certainly hope in their procedure to go out and purchase this, that they take in consideration that they're not just serving 180, 250-pound football players. So I certainly hope that they will at least think about the entire program that uses those weight rooms. And I hope that you emphasize that.
Madam Chairman,
Ms. Rainey.
I make a motion to approve the award of $60,000 to each of the high schools to equip weight rooms as long as they consider lighter weights for female athlete usage.
Okay. Did we get a second? Second from Mr. Giles. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, item L is a consideration of reassignment of architect projects. We would like to ask the board to consider reassigning Airport High School, Fulmer Middle School, and the District Education Center to Jumper Carter Cease for design, renderings, and et cetera, and continue with contract construction being the contractor since they were awarded the work previously.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we allow Carter Jumper Cease to take their former projects and the district education facility also, and to finish it.
Actually, the agreement.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bingham. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We didn't get that. 6 ayes and Ms. Brandon was recusing. Motion carries. Next, we have consideration of request for overnight or out-of-state student travel.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have 11 out-of-state overnight trips listed in your board packet. We recommend that you approve them. We recommend approval this evening.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the request for out-of-state overnight student travel for all 11 sites presented.
Have a motion to have a second.
I'll second that one, Madam Chair.
Have a second. Ms. Brown, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right. Next, thank you very much, Mr. Eisenhower. Next, we're going to move on to administrative divisional reports. The first is the superintendent.
Yes, ma'am. As this board well knows, school district's been deeply involved with Nehemiah's project over time, and that project has changed somewhat, and now that it is the Scooter Scott project. Mr. Gil Owens is here to give you an update, just to kind of let the board know that things are going well with that project. Gil.
Thank you. Pass it this way and I'll start this one side. Thank you, board. I wasn't expecting this crowd. I'm from Blackville, Hilton and Blackville. We don't even have a school board, so I'm just kidding. That's a joke. But I'm proud to be from Blackville. And my name is Gil Owens, and I am part of the Scooter Scott project. Recently changed the name, but just wanted to make everybody aware that we're still doing the same things in the airport, Lexington 2, and the former middle school. Thanks to our wonderful principals at both of those schools. I have boys myself, one at the former and one's in junior airport high school. And recently graduated a boy that our family took in over a year and a half ago through the project. We just felt called to take him in because he comes from difficult circumstances and had been in DSS custody numerous times, and he was a friend of my son. And we took him in and raised him as our own, and I'm thankful. I always use this terminology. He was on track to be supervised by a prison guard, and now he is currently being supervised by the Coast Guard. He started the Coast Guard Academy last Tuesday, so my last phone conversation with him was at midnight that night, and it didn't sound real well where he was at. I heard him screaming and hollering, and he just called and said, "I'm safe, bye, I can't talk." What the Scooter Scott project is most of you maybe had known Mr. Scooter Scott. We call him Reverend Scooter, or I call him Scooter. And my wife and I got involved in this ministry about 5 years ago, really by default. I had a really good friend of mine asked us to cook for the airport high school football team. At the time, I didn't have a son in high school, but it was a really good friend of mine who did have a kid at the airport high school. So I volunteered, and he told me to meet Scooter, and I did. I introduced myself to Scooter. And I let a year, shame on me, I let a year go by before again, the same friend said, "You need to meet Scooter Scott," and I said, "I did. I met him last year." And he kind of looked me in the eyes. He said, "No, you never met him." He said, "You only introduced yourself to him." And that kind of hit me between the eyes, because I realized the impact that Scooter was having on young kids' lives at Airport High School and former middle school, and a few at DC. And I'm thankful that I got to know him, because 5 years later, actually 6 months after I introduced myself to him formally and got to know him, my wife and I sold our house, moved out of our neighborhood that we were comfortable in for 14 years, and moved out to run a boys' home and a boys' camp. And we took in boys from Airport High School and the surrounding areas. And over those 3 years, we had 17 boys who lived with us full-time, part-time. Some of them there for a month or two, some of them there for a year and a half. We were fortunate enough to take 2 boys in from Sudan, Africa as refugees that went to the school, Lexington 2 school districts. And then we took in a lot of blowfish baseball players in the summer and give them homes, and really got to show them pretty much what a stable family was like, as much as you could when you had 7 or 8 boys running around the home. We recently just moved, and we're still very involved with the Scooter Scott project. And I just want to give you a quick rundown of what we do. The stapled paperwork I give you is numerous activities that we do through the Scooter Scott Project, but our main vision is to provide hope, transform lives, and enrich our community in Lexington County. That's just kind of our motto. That's what we do. And sometimes we do it through one child at a time, sometimes we do it through a handful of kids at a time. But we meet the families and the students where they're at. And this whole program started about 10 or 11 years ago with Scooter started an after-school program at Airport High School and just mentoring a few boys. And then it blossomed into a lot bigger, boys and girls. And then it blossomed into a lot of the ministries. And I'll run through these real quick to save you on time. But the marketplace training, we emphasize all the elements required to get a job and keep a job. We teach them how to do interviews. We do mock interviews with them. We teach them how to write resumes. We teach them how to dress professional for those job interviews. Also, we offer part-time jobs for students in the airport, former school district, mainly the high school kids. We currently do have a kid from Whitesville High School coming over because one of our after-school director right now is kind of have a kid in that area that he knows very well. He brings him over. We currently have a few kids from DC coming over, but primarily it's airport and former middle school kids that meet in the cafeteria right after school, Mondays and Tuesdays currently until we get back up to a 4-day-a-week program. Through that, we started a hand soap business. One of our director now, Jeff Jones, is a businessman in our community, owns a chemical company, and he taught these kids how to make soap, how to just mix soap and water, make this really nice, luxurious foam hand soap like we buy at Bed Bath & Beyond. Put a nice label on it, we teach them how to make it, mix it, package it, label it, store it, stock it, and then sell it. And for every bottle they sell, $5 goes into that individual kid's scholarship fund. And we had a kid graduate this year with about $1,500 to $1,800 that was given him in the school year to go to his college with. And luckily, one of those kids that went to college is at Winthrop University, and I was able to catch up with him today because my son toured Winthrop University. And when I met this kid, he was homeless. When I ninth grade at Airport High School, I never dreamed that there would be kids at Airport High School that were homeless. And when I met him for the first time, I had a little secret that I was keeping from the kids in the after-school program. I'm a state trooper full-time. I've been a trooper for 24 years, and I've been blessed with a great career. But I knew some of those kids had a rough background, and probably the only involvement they had with law enforcement was unfortunate when they came to their house to deal with family situations. So I never told Xavier for about 6 months what I did, and he never told me he was homeless until I had to take him home one night. And when he got out of the car, he said, "If you don't tell nobody I'm homeless, I won't tell nobody you're a trooper." He stuck to his promise. He never told a kid at all. And finally, after about a year, I showed up at the after-school program in uniform one day. And one of the kids there said, "I should have known that's what you did." But he asked me, could he drive my car one time, and he was 14 years old with no license. And I told him he couldn't. He said, "There was no police officers around." And I said, "You never know where they might be." That's what our school kid program can do for kids. You know, Xavier is one of those kids that was going to fall through the cracks, had a good principal not recognized his talents and not referred him to us because of his family situation. Not only do we mentor the kids in our after-school program, and you'll see in a minute, but we mentor their families and the communities they live in. The hand soap business we talked about, the Speakers Bureau, we try to take a handful of kids out multiple times a year and bring them to events like this where they can see how people communicate, but at times we try to get them up in front of those bodies of people and communicate, work on their communication skills and start building that rapport with the community, as well as learning how to speak in front of people so when their college time comes, they feel comfortable doing that. Fast Track GED program, we right now currently have about 350 graduates in our Fast Track GED program. That's offered every Saturday, Friday nights and Saturdays at Airport High School in the cafeteria from 8:30 to 12, and that's free of charge. We don't charge anything for participants to take their GED exams or for the cost of the class or anything. And many of you may know or may not, but it's not really cheap right now for somebody to get their GED program. And most of these people trying to get it, unfortunately, are not in the jobs they want to be at that point in time. So it's very difficult for them to afford this GED program. We offer that free of charge. And Francis Sanford, some of y'all may know, that's retired from the school district, just the best job he's ever had in his life when he gets to mentor and teach those most of adults, older adults, to get their GED. The road trips, we take our kids on a lot of road trips to broaden their horizon, get them out and get them exposed. I quickly realized, and I kind of relate being from Blackville, I never got out of Illinois County, so I really didn't know what was outside of the county line. But we had 4 kids in our after-school program last year, and we talked to them about taking them to Lake Murray. They asked us where Lake Murray was at. They didn't even realize it was in South Carolina, much less in their backyard. So that's the mindset of some of these kids. They don't understand what's outside the perimeter, so we take them out and get them exposed. Just talking about an after-school tutoring and mentoring program. The mentoring program specifically is just about one-on-one relationships with these kids. It's just mentoring and getting to know them, not just in school, in our after school program, but to go pick them up on the weekends. And that's how I got involved in this ministry. I would take 4 or 5 boys every weekend out to the camp property, and I taught them how to run a backhoe, I taught them how to run a bulldozer, I taught them how to do drain lines and water lines and stuff. And that's how my relationship began with all the boys that I met, specifically Xavier, who's now at Lexington University. And that's our mentoring program. Our home visits, I talked a little bit while ago, is we go visit every one of the kids in our after-school programs. Parents or the legal guardians or whoever they're living with. And as you can imagine, we have kids living with multiple families, multiple people, and some of them they don't even know. And so we get to know everybody in their household. And we do that more than once a year. It's usually 4 or 5 times a year through the school year. We're at their house actually getting to know their families and their circumstances so we can figure out how to help them other than just their education. Our Flip It Pancake Ministry was something that we started at Airport High School 7 or 8 years ago, and it started because on Lake Star, a lot of kids still continue to get to the school early, so they kind of just hang around and float around, and they end up in parking lots they shouldn't be, or doing things they shouldn't be doing. So we went to a church right beside Airport High School called New Hope Covenant, and just went to say, hey, would you be willing to open your doors, and if you would, we'll provide everything to do cook pancakes for these kids. And last Wednesday, we had 198 kids that we fed pancakes to. We're averaging 150 to 180 every Wednesday, and that's right beside Airport High School. So our ministry furnishes the pancake mix, the juice. I've recruited 2 retired couples that come in, and it's really, I guess the numbers have increased since these retired couples have really got to know them. Matter of fact, one of the guys has offered 2 or 3 of them jobs. Instead of just flipping pancakes, we get down and sit down with them. I go every Wednesday. I've actually recruited 4 or 5 troopers when they can get off the road for 20 or 30 minutes to come in there and really start to get to know these kids. And it's an awesome time. I was shocked when I had 198 kids and not one of them being disruptive, not one of them being bad, and everyone telling us thank you for what we did. So that just makes it more enjoyable. And we have a lot of kids that walk out of there. I don't know if the school's supposed to know this, but they put those pancakes in their pockets, 8 or 10 of them, and stuff them away. Because some of them, that's the only meal they're going to get if they're not eating at school, or they take them home to their siblings. And we do have a pancake winner. He's from Airport High School. He holds the record at 27 pancakes in one sitting. And he's trying to beat his brother. His brother is the Pancake Slayer, and he's the Pancake Slayer Junior. So that's a really good program that's worked really well for us. Student athlete support is how I got involved with the ministry. Was cooking for the Airport High School team. Our ministry provides the meal, or I guess the church involved to cook for Airport High School or the church facility to host a football meal prior to every game on Friday nights. Rock, paper, scissors. We encourage our students to participate in a lot of musical and visual. We try to get them outside of their horizon. We got several of them in our school program that now are playing the violin or doing something in the arts department, and that's just kind of getting them outside of their comfort zone. School supplies, we try to help any student in need in our after-school program anywhere in the community that somebody can fill us in on. We can usually work out something to give them backpacks or paper or pencils and stuff like that. And then the party, at the end of the year celebration, we have a big party for our kids in the after-school program, just celebrating what they've accomplished. We know a lot of kids in our after-school program are not college bound. Some of them are, a lot of them are not. We try to gear them in the direction where their talents are. Because sometimes I was one of those kids. I was the smartest kid in the school. My dad told me, you might not be the smartest, but you sure as not act up in class. And that's what we see with our kids. Some of them are not the smartest kids in the classroom, but we work with them. We work on their grades. We've seen a lot of their grades go up and their behavior problems go down. And that's what we try to do. But we throw them a big party at the end of the year and celebrate their accomplishments. And then dropping down, Bellmead Estates, a lot of our kids were coming from Bellmead, which is a community right behind the farmer's market. It's kind of a poverty-stricken community. And we've adopted that whole neighborhood. And we even have some spots in there where we hold block parties. We had 800 volunteers come in this summer to help do work on parents in those homes that kids are in our after-school program. And 800 volunteers, 100 a week for 8 weeks, coming from all over the country through a ministry called Next Step Ministry that we partnered with, the Scooter Scout Project partnered with, along with the Lexington County Sheriff's Department. Was able to mentor those families. And so we've adopted that community. We give them a 10-year commitment. We are in our 4th year right now, so we look forward to that partnership. And we hold block parties every Friday night during the summer at Bellmead on the corner of 321 and the Bellmead subdivision. And all those kids come in from all over the country. Most of them don't look like the kids in Bellmead. And it's awesome to watch those group of people coming from Texas and New York and New Jersey party with the kids from BoardMeeting, and it's a lasting effect that they'll never forget. And we have one kid, most of y'all probably know Keziah. Keziah graduated last year. But Keziah comes to the block party, and he's the life of the block party, and we miss Keziah greatly. A warehouse at church we cooked the pancake ministry at. We had to flip. They have a big warehouse to let our ministry use. At all times, we've got food or supplies or mattresses or something in that warehouse that generally we can help people with. So if you find students in need, please reach out to us and let us know how we can help you. Wellness First, we have a couple nurses on our ministry that they go out to BoardMeeting, they do blood pressure checks, they do all these different types of checks that they can do in-house, and that's a free ministry we offer as well for health purposes. We offer compassion and accountability through our SOS, and this is for us when we have families come in that may be in need. We always say we're a hands up, not a hand out, and that's what we do. We assess their situation, and if we can help them and not enable them, and that's what we do. The Good Samaritan, we feed some families on a daily basis that we do. We also, the second sheet that you have that I give you is all the schools that we provide snack packs to. And we provide right now about 450 to 500 snack packs to 9 different schools in Lexington currently. And we do that out of that warehouse as well. And we have a great relationship with the guy that's willing to bring us the food. We unpackage it, we repackage it, and we put 18 items in each one of those bags. And we hand deliver to the schools, and the teachers can identify, or the counselor, whoever can identify the kids in their schools that may be going home on the weekend without any food, and they allow those kids to take the food. We also identified some football players about a month ago, and we had some food left over, so we were able to kind of anonymously load that food up and take it to their homes personally, and along with some break help, and get those kids. I never dreamed in a lifetime there'd be kids going without food in this area, much less in our country. And to my eyes were awakened until I got through this ministry. I got involved with this ministry. So that's something we do, we continue to do. We have different groups come in and help us unpack it, and we have different groups come in and help us repack it, and then we have volunteers that come and pick it up and take it to the 9 different schools. And you can send a list of schools that are doing it, that are not doing it. But if you need more snack packs, or if a school wants to come on board with this, if y'all let us know. Joyce Coleman's name on the front of this, she's our volunteer coordinator, and we can make those adjustments as needed. And then on the last page, you see the outdoor activities. We teach leadership skills and teamwork. We do leadership through discipline and team building activities, archery, and other outdoor activities. That's where I come in. I grew up in the country, hunting, fishing, and being outdoors. I didn't realize it at the time how good I had it, but I basically was raised on a camp with brothers and a bunch of cousins. And that's what I offer kids. We try to get them outdoors as much as we can. And for 3.5 years, we did this full time every weekend. Out of the month in Red Bank, we did archery, team building exercises, low ropes course. We taught them how to fish. We taught them how to tie lines. We taught them how to bait hooks. We taught them how to unbait fish off lines, and really just taught them how to be boys. And that's all we know is how to raise boys. We wouldn't know what to do with a girl, but we do have activities for girls as well. We learned that the hard way. We learned some girls wanted to shoot archery and do low rope courses as well. And we found some volunteers, female volunteers, that were willing to come out and assist us with the girls as well. That's kind of my story with the Scooter Scout Project. I'm just a volunteer. Nobody in our ministry gets paid one dime. Not even our director doesn't get paid one dime. It won't take a dime. Matter of fact, it cost me a good bit of money personally to do the camp, and I did it full time, and we took in the boys. But I can't think of a better way to assist this community outside of law enforcement. I had 24 years of law enforcement. This has been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, and not get paid for it. And that's kind of what we do with the Scooter Scout Project. So thank you.
Gil, we appreciate that, but I'll bet you my pancake eater can beat your pancake eater.
Hey, everything's going except when there's not flavor.
My pancake eater 28 won't even start.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Linda, I'd like to thank you more for having Gil come in, because I've had a lot of people ask me what the Scooter Scout Project was, and it's really been dear to a lot of our hearts. I mean, Gil's like a brother to me, and it's just been great seeing how much work they do for so many students, and not a dime comes from the district or anywhere. I mean, we go to the fair sometimes, and I always wonder how many kids he's going to bring. It's just amazing that different lives that they have touched through this. Like I said, there's been a lot of questions asked to me about what this project does, and so that's why I wanted to come. And y'all see, I mean, it's something to be proud of for Lexington too, to have somebody willing to do what they do weekly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, a few years back, I traveled the state handing out this award for South Carolina School Boards Association, where they recognize people who are groups or businesses even who partner with education, and this is a statewide award. And I would just like to recommend that the officers look into that award, and let's see about maybe nominating this project for state recognition.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Next, we're going to move on to instruction. And I'll turn that over to Ms.
Trying to figure out why Dr. James is laughing at me. Madam Chair, Dr. James, members of the board, good evening. Tonight, we just want to talk with you a little bit about the status of gifted and talented across the district, considering we're opening Riverbank Elementary at this point in time. There have been some rumors floating around the district that we're disbanding AEP or getting rid of OASIS. I distinctly recall during the time of the task force, one of the things the community said to us was any program that we have that is working and giving us results that we would not disband. So I wanted to publicly dispel that myth that we are not planning on getting rid of OASIS or AEP first and foremost. We do have some discussion points we would like to share with you tonight regarding future considerations. We're not asking for a decision tonight, but just some information, because if we decide to go forward with some of the proposals that we will discuss tonight, it will be a funding implication in terms of some FTEs. So do we just want you all to have enough time to consider if you didn't necessarily like what I'm saying tonight, you may want me to go back to the drawing board and think about some other things, and we certainly can do that as well. We just want to pace ourselves so that we give enough time to plan adequately. So in your board packets, I just want to call your attention again to the rubric from the accreditation process. And what we did was just cut and paste the domains that we would be covering tonight. In particular, I want to talk about number 19, where it says the board conducts transparent discussions regarding the institution's teaching and learning programs, which is gifted and talented. And number 21, the board supports programs and services that address specialized needs of learners, and we're talking about the gifted population. The second page you see, there's just a snippet from our strategic plan, and you will see that we do have goals surrounding our gifted learners. And there's the last bullet there where it talks about expanding OASIS, because we are getting good results out of OASIS. So just want to ensure that we were all on the same page and that you know that anything that we're discussing is acknowledged in our strategic plan. So you're aware that we serve gifted and talented starting in grades 3. Our students are served in Lexington through two models, AEP, which is a pull-out model, and kids in 3rd grade receive services 2 hours and 15 minutes per week. 4th and 5th grade, you see there 3 hours and 20 minutes per week. And many years ago, the board put in the OASIS program, which is a self-contained class that it was decided at that point in time to be housed at BC number 1. Those kids are in that class all day long, so it's not a pull-out program. They start as a 3rd grade cohort, and they remain together until they exit the middle school. We can qualify, we use state qualifiers for gifted and talented, and on the profile there are 3 different dimensions, dimension A, B, and C. Dimension A, in a nutshell, is your IQ. Dimension B is achievement, and dimension C, dimension C is your academic performance. You must have 2 of those qualifiers to participate in gifted and talented. You see the numbers there, the number we are currently serving in gifted and talented. I found it interesting, I kind of snooped around on a few report cards on the state portal in terms of percentages. You see on our last report card last year, we were up to 17.8% of our students being served in gifted programs. It was interesting, of the 7 surrounding districts, we're in the top 3 with regards to serving the number of kids and percentage-wise in gifted and talented, so I thought that was quite interesting. So the last year, the state provided comparison scores for us with regards to how our gifted kids stacked up against gifted kids across the state. We met and exceeded or outperformed the gifted and talented kids across the state. And Ms. Brandon had to help me with a little situation we had a couple of years back when some parents were questioning how our kids were doing. And I just sent her the data and she sent it on and they said, thank you, that's all we needed to see. So we're real proud that our gifted kids do outperform the other gifted kids in the state. So again, this information is just for planning and discussion purposes only. No board action is required at this time. As it pertains to Cougar Drive, we know that we'll be merging Pineview and BC number 1, which has 2 different models. And so the question becomes, how do we handle that? What we are proposing is to have a hybrid model. Every child is not fit for the OASIS model, and every child is not fit for the AEP model. We would like to be able to offer that site choice and honoring our commitment to our community where we are not getting rid of the OASIS program. That's point 1. We also are asking you to consider expanding OASIS to Casey Elementary. The reason being, if we took the Pineview population and the BC number 1 population, they could fill an OASIS class alone tomorrow. That leaves little room for the rest of the kids across the district. But if you kind of conquer and divide that and have an OASIS North and OASIS South or ACB and OASIS C or whatever you want to call it, it allows more opportunity for children to be served through that model. We were proposing that we would start with a 3rd grade cohort next year at Riverbank Elementary as well as Casey Elementary. Kids who are currently at BC number 1 in 3rd and 4th grades would be grandfathered in to Riverbank. Just want to make sure that's clear. Okay, and then we would start a 3rd grade cohort at each site. We would use a true lottery system. Kids would have to apply like they do now. We do take things into consideration such as attendance, tardies, and behavior. If they screened out through the application process, they could be entered into the lottery system for application into OASIS. Now let's say OASIS fills at Riverbank but doesn't fill at Casey. If there are available slots, then parents could certainly go or choose if they wanted the OASIS model to go over to Casey Elementary. Students who did not meet the criteria of the lottery or did not choose to apply for the lottery would still be served through our AEP program, which is the program. Yes, sir.
Does Casey have AEP as well?
Yes, sir. They currently have it. Okay. My next slide was supposed to be questions, but I lost it. Okay. So the implications, as I mentioned earlier, there'd be 1 additional FTE at Casey per year for the next 3 years, because we would need to hire a 3rd grade OASIS teacher. Students, this would be different because our current model at BC number 1, if you're a BC number 1 student, you're automatically accepted into the program. We move to this model, we cannot automatically accept all of the kids at the Riverbank Elementary site because we would fill the class immediately. We can only have 25 children. So that would be different. Just because you're a Riverbank student or just because you're a Casey student, that means you automatically get in. You would have to go through the application process. And again, if the OASIS on one side fails and the other one didn't, then the parent would certainly have the opportunity to go across the district lines. So at this point in time, I will pull the kickstand down and entertain any questions. Yes, sir.
Say we fill up both the OASIS classes and we still have a large chunk of kids that qualify. Does it make sense to consider adding a second OASIS class at one or the other?
Well, in my notes, I have that as a board option. If the board,
That would be 2 teachers, right?
it would be 2 teachers. If the board would like to see more models, then if we had the money there and we would have the space at the site, we could certainly add another Oasis class. Yes, ma'am.
I just like to make sure, I know you probably planned all this out, but that we're real clear on what criteria it is that gets you into the lottery, and that once those kids' names who are known, who make that lottery, that those kids' names are sent up to the district office
Yes,
from both schools, and that y'all then draw up here.
That's
Because that takes the pressure off of parents trying to pressure teachers and
Yes.
principals at the school to get their kid in the program or whatever, you know.
That's right. And we do it up here at this level now, even with Oasis.
Oh.
If you all recall, a few years ago, we didn't have the numbers of support, but for the last 3 or 4 years, we've actually had a waiting list for Oasis, and we handle that in my office. And that's a fair statement. Yes, sir.
When Oasis was originally created, the idea was to take a school who had a lower numbers population and provide a program there that people, it would be an incentive for them to go to that school to try to balance the population. So we've got to be careful when we're adding programs at the school, the brand new schools that are going to be the most popular, that it is going to, I mean, if we're not careful, you're going to draw the entire population to nothing but those two schools, because you put programs there where the incentive is least needed.
Well, that's a good point. And historically, the Oasis program has been filled with students who are housed from Pineview or Davis and Taylor. So we did take that in consideration. If you look at the current numbers in the current Oasis class, a lot of the kids come either from Pineview or from the Davis and Taylor, the KC side of the town. So those are the kids that's been attracting for the last couple of years, at least since I've been following them. But yes, sir, you are absolutely correct.
Davis and Taylor would know.
Casey.
That would fill a class for
Yes,
maybe
right.
two.
Those are the kids that typically have opted to have that problem.
And I'll bounce off of that for a second, just because it does seem to me that maybe Wood or Congaree might even want to be considered. Because literally we have the Academy of Arts, but Congaree or Wood would be a good place to house one of those programs.
And we went for Casey because of space availability, because you would need 3 classrooms in order to hold like her 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So we were kind of looking at where we had some space. And Congaree and Wood, even with some of the additions, they're still a little tight.
You'd have space at Springdale, wouldn't you?
Well, if we started next year, I'm not really answering.
There'd be a total of 6 additional classrooms. But we were using 3 portables out there, Kevin?
Yes.
So there would be a delta of 3 additional classrooms.
If we use those 3 for Oasis, then we wouldn't have any room for anything else. And again, we're not asking for a decision right now, but come January, February, I will need a recommendation from the board as to how you all wish for us to proceed. In this interest, and I do want to add, since Mr. Bingham talked about the numbers and looking at how we would split the district, if we use the numbers we had today, there would be, I think, if we're looking at just the 3rd grade, if I'm looking at this right, there'd be like 150 on one side and like 145 on the other side. So the numbers are real close in terms of potential applicants from either side of the district. It's really, really close.
But the Riverbank one would also include Saluda River kids.
It would include Saluda River. And Springdale. For proximity, we were trying to figure out which was closer. Any other questions? Oh, thank you.
All right, next we're going to hear about the Lexington 2 Innovation Center update.
Thanks, Ms. Newton, Dr. James, board members. Thank you for this opportunity. This will be the first of several regular updates we plan to bring you in regards to the Innovation Center and kind of how we're progressing through and what we're working on. You will see first as a reminder the current courses that we offer, and we'll do that, but those are the current courses that we offer that will move over to our center. Those are the new classes that we plan to offer in 1819, barbering, culinary arts, fire safety, and electricity. In keeping with our innovation, our innovative approach, we hope to allow our kids opportunities to apply the knowledge that they're learning. That said, we will still continue our dual enrollment classes with Midlands Tech and looking to add some work with USC Sumter. We had a good meeting with them today. Our focus today was around science classes, since we'll have those 2 state-of-the-art science labs there. We are looking to get some of our teachers vetted to teach some of those courses on our campus. We will continue with advanced placement offerings. We'll have some over there. A lot of those will look like maybe courses that don't make it to high school because numbers are low. We could combine them, teach them at our center. We're also working on any other core academic classes that our kids would want to take while they're over there. We have been working really hard on community awareness, just getting our name and our purpose out there. We will continue again with the cake showcase that we did last February. That will be in February of this year. We had a lot of good success with that. We've been at both parent nights at both high schools so far. They're open houses. We had teachers with student projects and student work at BC High School a couple weeks ago. And just recently at airport, we had a fire chief from West Columbia that came and was available to talk to the kids. And we had a culinary arts display. We had a Chef Charles from Macomb County that Ryan Stone with the Sodexo set up for us. And it was really good. Did a lot of cooking demonstration right there that really sparked some interest in our kids and parents that were there. We've done a presentation like this at the the West Columbia Rotary Club. We have plans to do the same thing for the city of Casey and the city of West Columbia, again, just to get out in front of them. We had a wonderful district advisory meeting 2 weeks ago or so. Dr. Hayward Edmonton, Mr. Eisenhower back there. A lot of good input from local business owners, clergy. We had a representative from the city of Casey and 2 students. And the perspective from the 2 students was really interesting. Our representative from BC is a senior, and he most regrets that he's graduating and will not be able to take advantage of what we're going to have to offer. So we're really excited. We hate that for him, but we're really excited. The other kids are excited. Our other piece is on student recruitment. You'll see what you see running in the background is a video that our digital multimedia class did. This is specific to building construction. We plan to do these for all our programs, and we'll talk about the class, jobs you can get with those skills, the kind of money you'll make, those kinds of things. Again, we'll do it for every program. We're pushing out to the kids' iPads so they can have access to them whenever they want to look at them. We will have printed brochures available. We're working on those now. Our guidance counselors will have those, so when they're talking to kids and parents about IGPs, registration, those kinds of things, they'll have them there. They can just hand them to them. Again, we've done open house demonstrations. We've got a cohort, a professional development cohort, of most of our CAPE teachers and several guidance counselors that meet. They met for the first time this week. Their focus is on recruitment and retention. We want these classes full of kids that want to stay there and become certified when they leave. So they've been working on some things there to kind of get kids in and keep them in. We will be at registration meetings, assemblies, parent meetings, anytime we can get in front of anybody to talk about our programs and what we have to offer for all kids, not just CAPE kids. And we've had one very successful meeting with both high schools to talk about courses that we're going to offer and logistics and those kinds of things. We have another one scheduled for the first part of October, so we'll hash out exactly what courses we're going to offer, what things will look like over there. So we've been pretty busy. We've made some good strides. We're very excited. And I think that's all we've got, so I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Bain?
Joni, you said we were working with USC Sumter. And I'm trying to think, I remember something, I think they have a program there for water and wastewater operators. Because there's a real shortage kind of guys that go into that field. So that would be something potentially if somebody likes working outdoors and, or lab environments and that kind of thing, then water and wastewater operators.
Thank you.
Can you give just kind of overview of the EMS fire safety, kind of what the vision is for that, what the kids will be learning, what jobs they may?
Yes, sir. I'll leave anything out. you jump in. We're kind of building that as we got playing and flying at the same time. We got some input from just fire safety because the kids can graduate at 18 and go to work at the fire department civil, and they'll come out with first aid responder certifications, those kinds of things. So that's the route we're looking at right now, as opposed to police where they can't do that quite until 21. So.
Jenny, do they have to like apply to come there, or is it just they're going to do it just through guidance? That's an interest. There's
just
no
based on the
requirements or grade requirements. Or
based on the course they went to.
And the transportation just going to run buses all day, or what?
Yes, we'll run buses, and there will be some opportunities for students to drive. That's in theory.
You know, have y'all looked at the difference between airport and high school, the classes, of how they, with one being on the 4 block, the other one, the complications they're having? I know in the construction class with the airport students, they get them for like 90 days. They got 5 days a week, where at BC they only get like every other day.
Yes, so we have what we think is a plan that will work to accommodate all kids, regardless of school. We'll finalize that before November, and I can give you specifics. Hopefully, what we think that's going to look like is that kids will just come for a block of the day. They'll come for the morning and stay, or they'll come for the afternoon and stay. We have a common start and stop time, and we have a block of time in the middle of the day for travel, lunch, and those kinds of things, which is why we're looking at other academic classes, because we're going to have to offer some things that kids will take in addition to their K class once they're over there, so it'll match up. So the BC kids will end up probably getting 4 credits over there, and they'll take the other ones at their other school, just because it won't match up on that AD. But we have it where we think it won't matter what their schedule is, it'll work out. Yeah, we're excited. That was a big hurdle. So once we brought across that, we could kind of focus on other things. So that was good.
And since you brought it up, I haven't had lunch or supper yet. Are you serving a lunch program? I know you're doing culinary arts. Do you have like a cafeteria there? Because kids
we will not have a cafeteria there per se. We are working with Ryan and Sodexo, looking at like some bag lunches, some lunch like station kind of things, grab and go kind of things. We visited Beaufort, we were at Battery Creek High School, and they have a second chance breakfast, I think is what it's called. So it's kind of grab and go breakfast in between the first and second block of the day. So kids that were just getting there as a bell rang or whatever would have opportunity for breakfast. But it'll look like a kind of a grab and go at lunch kind of thing.
And we also talked with Sodexo about doing that at the 2 high schools where they would be going from, having something on their way out, like a little kiosk or a card or something, so they could grab something and eat it on their way.
And the theory with the common time in the middle is that if they chose not to do that, they would still have time to travel back to their school and eat, and then go to their 3rd block, and then come over for their 3rd block lesson. Okay.
Our hope, Mr. Key, and our plan, and what I've charged Joni with, is that we create something that's absolutely different and unique in the fact that, and I was one point in time taught building construction and drafting and industrial arts and all those kinds of things, so I'm very supportive of that. But what we're looking for is that we get all of our kids, particularly our best and brightest kids there. The USC Sumter piece will offer them college level science. In addition to that, we're looking at a piece where we can tap into the governor's school. We found out that Sumter County is actually offering classes through the governor's school, and kids are getting credit from the governor's school. Our AP scores, Marcella gave you lots of good information tonight. She'll let me give you some not so good information when it comes time to that. But I think if we look at that as Lexington 2, rather than trying to have 2 different schools replicate programs that will end up with more students who truly qualify or truly have the capability of making a 3 to 5. So the idea is kid may go there in the morning time and take a 90-minute carpentry class, carpentry 1, building construction 1, whatever the name happens to be, but also may take a language arts class there. He may take biology from USC Sumter. He may take the wastewater prerequisite that Mr. Bingham's talking about, or he may be sitting in an AP course, or maybe sitting in a teleprompter class from the governor's school. So my hope is that the board will push the idea that this school is different from anything that we've seen, that it's not a vocational school. And there's not anything wrong with that. My mother pitched a fit to get me to where I could take bricklaying and just go, I want to take bricklaying. They didn't have bricklaying in Walford when I went there, but I got to take bricklaying. So we want kids to experience courses that they might not normally experience. But we also want this school to be an opportunity for the highest flyers in our district to come together and do things that have not been possible here in the past. So it's going to look different, but the bottom line, both principals were very cooperative. Cake Center's got to be scheduled first. If you don't schedule it first, the other two schedules don't work. The start time is the start time. Nobody gets to come late, come in late and all that. Nobody leaves early. Start time, stop time is set. Everything works around that. That's the hub of our advanced programs, is how we envision it. And unless we get directly from you all to do otherwise, that's what we're going to bring to you in February, and then hopefully in reality in the summer. So I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thanks for your work on all that.
Next, we're going to move on to finance. Ms. Richardson.
Yes, thank you very much. I have the August financials, first the revenue, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And the expenditures also. No questions, we'll move on to the referendum expenditures. And I mentioned at the last board meeting, we were going to go ahead and sell the last 100 million. We sold those on September the 19th at a rate of 3.107, which was great. So we'll close those on October 4th and have that available. So we will have sold all the $225 million bonds at this point. Thank you.
Any questions? Or no objection to the financial reports will stand approved and submitted. Next is administration and student services. Mr. Hinton.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. If you'll look at the back under that blue sheet, you will see the 10-day enrollment figures. I started off with the overall for each school in the district-wide. When we hit 8,900, I felt very good, and we're pretty much, we may be a little low in some areas, but we're pretty much where we need to be, full modeling and following what we've done in the past. Mr. Key, I found something out that it finally hit me, because I was wondering why Springdale wasn't above 500. They used to have 4 half days. They used to have 2 and half day and half day. So they used to have 4 child level classes. So if you add another 40 kids in on top of what they've got there, that's where the 5 is. So they're right where they need to be, since we're just doing 2 all-day classes now. So they're good. We did make a few switches, what we told you we were thinking about last time to do. We have had some overflow, and we had to send some kids to where they would be, but we kept them close nearby, and not to overcrowd too many schools. You'll notice Casey is well above 1,000 kids now. I jinxed Dr. Brooks and them at Busby at 399, but they're above 400 now, because we can send you kids over there still. Our next big benchmark will be the 45-day count that will come in right after the end of the 9 weeks. So it's typical. Starting first this year, being one of the first start district, that's why it just had me worried there for a little bit, because the first day we didn't have 7,000 kids, and I thought, oh my Lord, but we were right where we need to be. I'll take any, answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. You have more construction?
Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
The answer is no, ma'am.
I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I do want to point out that, very pleased to announce we got $972,000 added bill money. That's going to allow us to do some things that were required by Fire Marshal at Pine Ridge, Seawood Wood, and Airport High School. So with regard to fire alarm, fire access, and that sort of thing. So we're hoping to pay for the majority of that out of that $972,000.
West Ice and I can be a little long-winded from time to time, but he did put that across a little simpler than it was. The idea that that money was out there, we knew that, but you had to have a program filled out of projects that were related to safety, and there was a lot of paperwork that went along with it. And he wouldn't dare tell you, but he spent a long time putting all that together and ended up being awarded $970,000 for some projects that we were going to have to pay for out of our pocket, that his life would have been just the same had he not done all that, but he spent a lot of time doing that. Don't say nothing that you've already talked to.
Mr. Cooper was a big help on that as well.
I want to brag on you, but I don't want you to talk no more.
Well done, and we have
just got one
72,000,
question.
I appreciate that tweet.
Just got one question for Don. We sat down an update on concrete levy. I mean, I read the update, was everything going as, I saw you had inspection scheduled, everything good at concrete?
Connery Elementary?
Yeah.
We're still working on the roof. In fact, that company, the roofing company there has not done what we expected them to do with regard to the timing of getting that project done. So we will have to make some decisions on whether or not we want to hit them with liquidated damages.
Thank you.
Ms. Kessler?
Yes, I would like to, as a board member, I'd like to go to those schools to see some of the things that have been done. We did eventually have the open house at Casey, but there's been a lot of construction that's completed that I'd like to put my eyes on again. So if that can be arranged, or just to tell you that I'm going to go see it, whichever one works.
I'm happy to go and escort or work out what you guys want to do. But, we have done a lot of work, I can attest to that.
And we appreciate everything. Okay, do you have a custodial?
I just want, I promised you previously that I would bring you some information on where we were with the custodial contract. What states in the contract is that they are entitled to basically the cost of living increase, which we agreed to do for them. And also, we created a per square foot price. And with the additions that we've done, the additional square footage, we've made some adjustments on that based on the average cost per square foot, which is only fair. And we will be doing that again as we continue to finish these other projects as well. And next month, when I first got here, you guys had asked for us to give you a report on how we were doing with our custodial contract. Next month, we are preparing a report for you to see where we are with that, the costs involved, and basically the savings that you are realizing from this. And again, Ron Arnold, Bill Bingham brought up the idea of hiring a custodial supervisor. And I would say that has been our saving grace with all of this construction that's been going on. Ron's very organized and has done a tremendous job of helping that custodial contractor get more organized so that we're getting a better product out of that. Still not where we want to be, but we'll get closer.
Thank you, sir. All right, next we're going to move on. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we're going to move on to human
Resources.
Thank
Dr.
you,
Cooper.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James. Under the guise of the overview of the teacher shortage, Dr. James mentioned that earlier this evening. This is the time of the year where I bring to you the annual staffing report. It is at your places. In addition to this general overview, Mr. Smoke is going to come up and we're going to talk to you about some general trends in the big picture, and we'll be coming back to you in the very near future to talk about specific data regarding our staff and things that we're seeing which fall right in line with the teacher shortage that you're hearing about. The report that you have, the first table that is shown there, keep in mind that this is based on data from September 30th, 2016 to August 30th, 2017. In the first table, you see classroom teachers, guidance counselors, media specialists, and psychologists. Focusing on half of the staff at the school district, primarily not the other 50%, which is made up of support staff, etc. Then our administrative and other professional staff. And then the third table represents new hires for support staff. We'd like to bring you our overall certified demographics of new hires at this time. You found your report.
Did you put it in our place?
It should be here. The overall certified teacher demographics of new hires at the time of this report is pretty much in line with 41 induction teachers and average years of experience with the overall new hires of 7.23 years. Of our new hires currently, approximately 54 of them hold bachelor's degrees, 5 plus 18, 35 masters, 15 specialists, and 1 doctorate. We have 8 vacancies in addition at this time. The second page represents the attrition in particular categories, and this report is specific from July 1, 2016 to June 30, 2017. Again, we break this down to the categories that you see here as it mirrors what we have and what we follow in our district strategic plan. Specifically, we're interested in knowing of those folks who leave us, what teachers leave us and go not just to another district in the state of South Carolina, but what do they go to districts that neighbor us? This report shows that of the 99 represented during this time, 32 of those folks accepted a position in another school district. We follow, as I said, those who leave us and go to another Lexington or Richland or Midlands district, and we'll be bringing that to you. 22 of those are moving for marital, spouse, relocation kinds of reasons, and 14 for retirement. That number is going to change significantly. So those are the 3 areas that really are outliers for us that we're following. Then you move down to the middle of the report where we have administrative and other professional staff transitions. We also have EEO data there for you. And then finally, certified staff and administrative transfers at the bottom. And again, this is pretty much a regular standard report that we bring, and it can be a little misleading because it doesn't bring it full circle. It represents where we were at a certain point in time. Are there any questions about this report? So Kevin, if you'll get started, just give us an overview, please.
Thank you.
The teacher shortage.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Cooper. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, just give you a brief overview of the teacher shortage update. Earlier this week, I Googled teacher shortage in South Carolina. These were the top headlines that came up on Google. And I'm not going to focus on the details of these articles. Some of you are familiar with them, but we are aware of the teacher shortage. The report that all the districts are working on, and Dr. Cooper alluded to some of the statistics, we gather this data and we send it to SARA, the Center for Education Recruitment, Retention, and Advancement. And all the districts in the state of South Carolina report this data, and it's published January of each year. So the data you have specific to Lexington 2 that you have now is not reflected in the statewide data you see on the screen. The data you see on the screen represents the data we were gathering last year at this time. So it's a little bit off by a year. You'll recall last year I was giving you numbers like 4,000 teachers leaving the profession, 2,000 teachers graduating from South Carolina education programs. Well, now you see that number, is now 48, 42. Well, some numbers you've heard in articles that are mentioned are 6,500 teachers. That can be misleading. That's 6,500 teachers who did not return to the same school district. Some of those teachers are still teachers, they're just teaching in another school district. The key number here is 48, 42. That's how many teachers no longer are in the teaching profession. And only 1,900 teachers graduated from a South Carolina teaching education program. That's a difference of almost 3,000 teachers shortage. I went back, and the numbers are not on the screen, but the year before, 15-16, that was a difference of 2,100, and then the year before, 1,900. So we've almost doubled from 14-15 to 16-17 the number of teachers that are not unable to fill. The other statistic which I find alarming is the following right side column, 616. That's the number of first-year teachers who basically one and done. They did not return to teaching after 1 year of teaching. And if you look, 600 teachers out of that 1,900, that's a majority of the teachers that are graduating are not continuing on. And this is a serious problem for the state of South Carolina. I do want to talk about the number, the 6,500 that you hear in articles. It's actually 6,482. And the top 3 reasons why teachers leave school districts. The number 1 reason is to teach in another South Carolina public school district. And Dr. Cooper mentioned that part of our strategic plan is to find out how many of those teachers are going to our local school districts or who are going to other school districts that are further from the Midlands area. That is the number 1 reason. The second reason is personal reasons, and many reasons are they feel frustrated, dissatisfied, overwhelmed, unprepared. And of course, the third highest is retired in this. You know, one of our common or popular reasons, which is not the state, is moving out of the area. If you look at our statistics for this year, that was one of the higher reasons of why teachers left, is they literally moved out of the state because of their spouse relocation, military assignments, etc. So it's a little bit different in the state. We do hope to bring to you more specific details as it relates to Lexington 2, as well as plans on how we're going to find teachers, recruit teachers, and retain teachers. So that will have more to come on there. But I'll entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, Kevin. In an executive session, when recommendations for appointments come to you, I know you noticed, we talked about that a good bit, how the number of years of experience of the folks that we are hiring has significantly changed. And in other words, for budgetary purposes, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Your knowledge base goes out the door. But it's, you know, what we find is a line item in the budget that is very, very hefty with attrition. But with that number continually going up and very erratic, I don't think we'll see that anymore. We've been talking about that. We've been talking about that a lot. And we are not in this. There's thoughts sometimes when you're talking to folks and they just don't realize that, you know, there's a teacher shortage out here. I talk about this a lot. But it doesn't affect us. Yes, it does. It does. And as I said, when I first started, we sit here today and we still have 8 teaching vacancies. That is really, I'm not trying to say that it's ever been easy, but it's not been like this. This is what I'm trying to say. And not only in that category, and I'll say this and we'll end for this evening, but it's not just in the area of certification in those particular staff. It's across the board. It's across the board. It's just a different day for employees. You can call it human capital, you can call it talent management. The fact is the employee base, and we are not immune from that. So, as Kevin said, we'll be bringing you more information specific to Lexington 2 in the very near future. And so with that, if you have any questions, I'll Ms. Brandt.
And I think I brought a thing before, because it's a national problem, obviously, not just a South Carolina problem. We could sit here and debate it all night, but I think if you want to put the number one reason why you have a teacher shortage, and Mr. Key and I agree on this, wherever it was, is money. It's flat out money. You offer another, and I know the district can't solve that, so I'm not saying let's, build everything. I would if we could. But if you have a kid coming out of school, they've got a mountain of debt, and they're going to come in making a teacher salary, well, some of them are waiting tables and stuff, but, while they're going into college to even get that degree, our state's throwing money at them. Hey, if you do a STEM add-on or whatever you do, science, technology, we'll give you extra money, extra lottery money, extra all this. And they're not really throwing that as much towards education, and all your teacher education programs are down in numbers. And so you have to, the people going into education today are people who just truly feel like calling to teach, which is probably who we want in our classroom anyway. But if money were also an incentive, I think that you would see a lot more people come out. That's obviously not a local issue, that's a statewide and nationwide issue. But I mean, that's the bottom line. You start offering money for teachers when these people line up out the door trying to be teachers, and you'll get the best and the brightest back in the field again.
And I do write in grants for assignment bonus. We reimburse for them to add on certifications. We reimburse for college courses. We reimburse for practice exams. All of this is paid for a grant that I write each year. So we do, at a local level, provide those incentives. I promote loan forgiveness, since we have a lot of schools that are critical subject areas, critical needs schools. They qualify for loan forgiveness. So I try to educate when I'm recruiting these young teachers that although we can't change the big picture, as you said, we can, at a local level, provide some assistance for them.
And another thing, and I'll say this, I'm sorry to say this. Another thing that they want, and we have to learn how to work in this changing environment, and I don't mean we, I mean just in education, is they want flexibility. That's what they want. You ask them what they want, and that's the number one thing. I'm not saying that money's not it. I'm just saying in the day, in the course of a regular day, in addition to support, and I'm sorry I didn't know you were going to get into all this, they want flexibility, and we have not been equipped, nor are we as I'm speaking myself, the traditional teacher ed world, when you come out of that teacher ed platform, they don't teach you how to function, and we are not equipped to respond in that manner. So it is going, in my opinion, and I don't know everything that I agree with this, it's got to change, and we'll have to change with it, because our educators aren't the same, our children aren't the same, we aren't the same. We have to work differently. So it'll take all of us, and nothing's off the table. Ms. Kessler, you have a question?
I just want to make a comment, and it's kind of a negative comment, but it applies to our district. We had some incidents to happen to a number of our teachers that have years, between 15 and 25 years of experience, to start school and to abruptly be told that today you're at school A and you've been here for X number of years, but tomorrow you're going to be at school B. We have to be more sensitive to people too, because not only did it affect those teachers that were told that, it affected their friends too, and they feel unsupported by the people that can make a difference. So I think we have to build in some human feelings there and make connections with these people and realize that every time we make a move or say something abrupt to them, that we've not only affected that one individual teacher, we've affected all their people. You come up to me with 25 years at Brooklyn Casey High School and tell me today I'm at BC High School, but tomorrow I'm going to go to airport, I would have flipped out. And I think we have to be more sensitive to that. And while you have people that can work better at one level, we have to work with every level that we're on.
Yes, ma'am. We do agree. And we do agree. And if I'll just
keep
say
in
this,
mind, it's not just teacher A that you're affecting, because teacher A goes back to her group that shares that, and all of a sudden you've got 8 other people that are not happy campers. So it affects, and some of them feel like that they want out. And I think we also have to take in consideration that we have to be a little bit more understanding.
Yes, ma'am, I completely agree with you. And it's also not what you can, it's also not what it used to be in that what you as a potential employee can do for us, it is what we can do for you. And I know that's what you're saying. I completely agree with you. Absolutely.
I mean, obviously, it is a nationwide problem, so it's not just what's happened here. It's all of a sudden created that we're not an anomaly. But you are correct. Culture has changed drastically. I was at a conference where a presentation was being made talking about the differences of the graduate today versus my generation, or even the baby busters. I mean, I'm a boomer, there's a buster, and then the Gen X's and the Gen Y's. I mean, there is a drastic cultural shift, and money is no longer their driving factor. It is about how much time off do I have? Can I work from home? Can I be on my device? It is not about be in this room at this amount of time and be so structured. That's just not in the cards with this generation. And that is a cultural problem, and it will require a complete transformation of how we educate in order to try to adapt to that changing culture.
And there's a great article from the state newspaper. It says, why do South Carolina teachers quit? Low pay isn't the only reason, we say. And they talk about time to do things, the lack of time and other factors. It's a really good article.
Flexibility is what
And then,
that's all we have. Do you have any questions? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next is executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion the Board of Trustees enter closed session for consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, and discussion of contractual matters, and discussion of property matters.
There's a motion, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Giles. All in favor say aye. We are